All right, we are now live here on a Friday night. We are live in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, and well, tomorrow's Saturday night. WWE is in prime time, and we'll see what's going to happen, and we'll talk about that. We'll certainly get into later on some MLB hot stove. Maybe we'll talk about some NFL. We'll have an old friend join us here in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame in about 80 or so minutes. But to kick off the night in style, he is the man that is the host of the Hockey Fan Chat. You heard him earlier on sportswireradio.org via the Listen Live button. And he's here. He dabbled a little bit in the world of wrestling, trained for it, and he's our trained senior analyst when it comes to all things professional wrestling and more. He is Mr. Randy Dillon. Randy, happy Friday, and how we doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, Tom. How are you?
It's another Friday, another week in paradise. Obviously, not a lot going on. Nope. Guess what? Wrong. We got plenty of going on here in the world of wrestling. And to kick things off here in style, in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the platform where truly all wrestling matters and all sports matters here, Sportswire Radio. Randy Dillon. Cody Rhodes talked about Triple H allowing him to bring something that he hasn't used in a while, and then we saw Kevin and Randy brawl, and Cody and brawl, and for those that are listening and watching, what did you think about the end of SmackDown, and what Cody said about bringing out something that Triple H is allowing him to use?
Definitely, I thought the end was good. I love the Stardust reference, and for people that didn't even see, Kevin Owens was wearing a Stardust shirt because Cody went on and said he never wants to hear Stardust name again, and it's kind of like a forbidden word. But what Cody Rhodes are going to win, I have to think. Listen, they're bringing it old school Saturday Night Main Event. Heck, we're getting Jesse the Body Ventura showing up
on the show. Yep.
I think we're going to see the old WWF winged title.
Winged belt. Yeah, I saw that the other day on social media that they're going to have the winged belt. Boy, they're really going back here in the time machine.
No, exactly. I think it's going to be exciting because this is a big Saturday main event. They made the field really big with the matches, like how they pushed Cody and Kevin, not a Survivor Series, to have it here instead. Like you want to pull all the stops. Like there's always the rumors of Rock. I think I've heard Hulk Hogan's name kind of whispered, but I think we're going to have more problems with him and Jesse Ventura.
Yeah, I think if you're getting Jesse, you're not getting Hulk. I mean, so I don't know where you go with that. I mean, I read the other day that Ted DiBiase is not going to be there now. That was talked about. I mean, I'm trying to think of names that would probably pop up if you're going to go for the nostalgia part. I mean, we're talking about Saturday Night's Main Event. I'm thinking maybe Sergeant Slaughter maybe is the name that's always around. Maybe that's a name that makes sense. I'm trying to think of names that were big back in the old Saturday Night's Main Event era that could be potential names to come in. I mean, Shawn Michaels, I would have to imagine, right? Saturday Night's Main Event. We're going to see Shawn on screen, right? I mean, we have to, right? Because he was.
I would have to see something. Like Bret Hart's another name I would think maybe.
Yeah, but maybe. I think Bret. We got that a few months ago in Calgary. Like Shawn Michaels would make sense because he was there during that. So I'm thinking people that were there during the heyday of Saturday Night's Main Event that could potentially show up. So if we're going to go, before we come back to Cody and Kevin, if we're going to think about names that would make sense, that would be a big moment. It's also got to be somebody maybe that hasn't been seen on WWE TV for a while. I'm even thinking names like Hacksaw Jim Duggan or something like that. That's a name, a New York guy, upstate, was big during that era. We get a pop. It just got to be something that I would have to think touches back just to that nostalgia of the late 80s.
No, Hacksaw, definitely I could see him showing up. I'm just trying to think because unfortunately a lot of the guys who did Saturday Night Main Event, other than Hogan, you think of Mean Gene, Roddy Piper, Superfly Jimmy Snuka, Coco Beware, all these guys.
Well, there's one name I would think, but I don't know if he would show up. Kind of goes along the lines of Bret. The Undertaker. He was there in that era.
Yeah, Taker, I can think you maybe have a better bet, but I think Taker just making a camera appearance doesn't make sense. It doesn't really set up anything for Taker kind of show up.
No, but if you're going back to that era, I mean, it's got to be a pop. It's got to be a big. It's got to be something big, something memorable. So I mean, it'll be something. But going back to this Cody and Kevin thing, they've obviously given a big fight feel We saw them beat each other back and forth. It was SmackDown ended, and Cody with the reference. I mean, so like, where does this go from here?
My guess is going to be Cody Rhodes is going to win, and Kevin Owens is going to go on some thing saying he was screwed. Like the company they're pushing Cody Rhodes, or anyone who helped Cody is going to keep down. He's going to go in some vindictive, crazy person rant thing. Everyone's against me now. I'm getting screwed out of everything.
So would you then say that this will continue at least into the new year? I don't know if we'll get one more match at the Rumble, but you'll think that this will continue a little bit, or like what
I
do
think
you
it
think?
might be done. The only thing I can think of is they might do a match for the Raw on Netflix because the talk they want to make this big. We saw the announcement with Roman versus Solo for that match, so they want to do it big. That's the only other way, but I think this could be it for these two.
All right, and I think that's kind of something that we spoke about there, so that makes sense. Let me ask you on one more name. You spoke about The Rock a little bit, and I don't know if we're going to really get him at Saturday Night's Main Event. Is there any chance of John Cena?
John Cena's interesting. I don't. New York, he could show up, but the other thing is they have another Saturday Night Main Event coming up next month. I don't know why. Maybe because they can get more matches on it before Rumble, but I could see him showing. If they're going to make it more annual, he's definitely going to make one appearance. For sure.
Well, he was there during the reboot of Saturday Night's Main Event. Remember, we did have that for a while, so he would be a name that would make sense. Speaking of the Bloodline, how did you like everything, how it all played out with the Bloodline tonight? Just touching upon that. What was your thoughts on that, and maybe some other things here about the show tonight?
I like the whole Jimmy coming up and McIntyre just clayboring him. I think that is brilliant because I think it goes back to why McIntyre turned, why Kevin Owens turned, because of the Bloodline and all the hate they have for him. So I think either it's going to set up something to do with Roman, or I think Drew McIntyre possibly could be the next opponent for Cody Rhodes at the Rumble if things don't fall through with the plans with The Rock and Roman, because you still got to give someone Cody to fight. I think they're doing the right thing with Solo, getting him to beat up some of the mid-card guys. I think he's going to shift back down there, it looks like.
Well, I mean, you've got all these different names, right? So you've got to shift somebody out. I mean, you've got to also, don't you want to feed people to Solo to let him build up some wins? To, let's say you want to bring him back into the main event picture. Well, now he's got these victories over X, Y, and Z, and that's now going to give him maybe more of some viability. I mean, so that makes sense. And I thought the return of Drew McIntyre was pretty good tonight. I thought that was a good. We had a couple of returns. We had Braun Strowman's return, and I'll get to that maybe. But I thought it was well done to have Drew back here the way it was, and the whole segment with him and all this. I mean, what was your thoughts on that for a few minutes?
With regard with Drew?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I think what we're seeing from Drew is we're seeing a guy all year who worked with someone who was on the injured reserve with Punk and now really kept it a relevant story for so many months. And listen, if you're going to put him against Roman or against Cody down the line, he deserves it because he's shown he can carry his weight.
Well, interesting you bring that up. Do you want Drew to go up against Roman, or would you want him to go up against Cody?
The thing with Cody, I don't see Cody dropping the belt. So I feel if Drew goes up against Cody, there's more of a chance he's going to lose. I think there's more of a
Roman's more 50-50, right?
Roman's more 50-50 because you look at their history. Drew's never beaten Roman in the last two matches, especially Clash of Castle. He hadn't beat. So, and also there's a question about Paul Heyman, CM Punk kind of lingering in. So definitely I could see something.
So you could put Drew into the storyline because of, let's say, that whole twist because of the hatred of Punk.
Yeah.
And you've got Roman kind of in the middle of that. And then there's doubts of trust or distrust there with Heyman. So Drew makes a little more sense. Whereas with Cody, I mean, aren't we eventually going to see something with Randy Orton? I mean, I would have to imagine, right? That it writes itself as a match, doesn't it? So wouldn't it, Drew, make a little bit more sense? I don't know when that would be. Would it be an Elimination Chamber match? Would it be a match I don't know if it's at WrestleMania, but at least there's something there where, it's again a typical big guy versus big guy. They've got some history. Drew was right there. Remember, that's how Solo debuted in WWE, right? Because that's how he debuted. We thought Drew had it 2 years ago. He was going to win the title finally, and Solo Sikoa came right in there. So, I mean, Drew's got some unfinished business there that he would like to finish.
No, exactly. And I think you got to find a way to keep him relevant with Drew McIntyre, kind of giving that big push, and there's no other relevant beating. Now, going back to Randy Orton and Cody, Tom, I don't know about you, but this year, usually we could see kind of a path to WrestleMania. I don't see any clear path right now. I think there's so much in the air, one, to do more with The Rock and which way they go. I know a lot of people are saying we're going to get Roman and The Rock. I think the plan is a triple threat. I honestly believe the plan is a triple threat match because then you have to somehow get the title off Roman. And my idea was if Cody won a Saturday Night Main Event, Roman was going to come out saying, I want my rematch. And that would set up the Rumble. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So
do you think it's designed that it's a triple threat, or this is something that they're trying to figure out? Would they want to go the route of a one-on-one match, whether it's The Rock or Roman, or as you stated, a triple threat, Cody, The Rock, and Roman? So do you think that it's already destined for a triple threat, or they're thinking about this? What do you think?
I think a triple threat makes the most sense because if you do Rock and Roman, you have to get the title involved, and then you have to find a way to get the title off Cody, which it doesn't look like they're going to go down that path yet, but there's still time to figure that out. And the other thing is that we talked about The Rock's ability in the ring. How can The Rock go?
I have no idea. We've spoke about this throughout the last year plus. I mean, we haven't seen him in any capacity now. Since like right after WrestleMania? So we're talking now 8.5 months, and we saw him in the ring. A cup of coffee, really, basically, in this year or so. So I don't even know what he has ring wise.
And that's why I think it's a factor where a lot of people think we want Rock and Roman, but how long can The Rock go? Like, you're not going to have a tag team match. Like, I don't know if people remember Rock versus Cena Part 1. How many times The Rock rode out? How many breaks they had because The Rock couldn't really keep
going? Was that the one where The Rock broke his ribs, or is that the one?
Not the second one. The Rock broke his rib. The first one where he won clean over Cena.
Okay, so but at that point when he had come back at the first one, if I recall correctly, he hadn't really wrestled a singles match in 7 years, 8 years.
Much younger and better shape, and he had he had problems.
He was a little leaner. You're talking about at that time probably The Rock is on 38, 9. Now you're talking closer to 52. So it's a lot of time it's gone by. I don't know. I really don't know that answer. I couldn't tell you.
So that's why it's so up in the air what they're going to do. I think they have Cody and Randy Orton on the back end in case it doesn't fall through. Then you got to figure out what you're doing with Roman. And I think the rumors are him and Punk, but I would prefer to see Punk and Rollins at WrestleMania over Roman and Punk, to be honest.
Well, that I think is a good point. Let me get to a couple people. I want to say hello to some people. I want to give a couple of shout outs, and I see some people are arriving. So let me do that now. First of all, I want to say hello to my buddy who's coming up early next week. We're going to probably have him here Tuesday or Thursday. It might be Tuesday afternoon, actually. That's my good friend, Mr. Nathaniel Rage, and I was watching some of Nathaniel's promo videos. He does a lot of different things for Texas Promo Wrestling. He also does some different things on his YouTube channel. He's closing in on 110 subscribers, so I want to give him a nice little plug because it's the holiday spirit, Randy, and I want to give those who go out here and support us each and every day that opportunity to go boost their numbers. So that's his page. You can check out some of his most recent stuff. I watched his most recent 2 videos, and let's just say it was breaking news. A lot of talk about the winter, a lot about talk about what's coming. I hope I'm not the next victim in these 2 videos, but check him out. He's doing a great job. I really like to support those that support us. So he's at 109. If you're here in the chat, get him a sub. We'll go to 110 after that. So we'll take this off the screen. I want to say hello to my buddy who was watching in the ring for a company that I'm actually the commissioner for, our friends over at Wrestling Zero, Mr. Rob Ryan, who was very impressive here early today, and I was really excited about that match, and he wants to chime in, and other than talking about himself, he wants to talk about the fact that he thinks Stone Cold could show up at maybe Saturday night's main. That's an interesting name. I hadn't heard that name thrown around. Is that a name you think has any possibility to show up tomorrow?
Yeah, I could see Stone Cold because there's a little bit of history between him and Kevin Owens. And he hasn't shown up on WTV, I think, now it's been, a few years? So I think he's due.
Is it due, though, it's Saturday night's main event, or is he due to show up at a WrestleMania?
I think Stone Cold just showing up anywhere just cause a reaction. So you have to do it right. Like, you want him on WrestleMania.
Would this be the moment that, because that's a name, that's an interesting name. I mean, our old buddy James Taylor would obviously do like 4 TikToks about that. But, but Stone Cold's a name I hadn't thought about in nostalgia because I don't think of him in the Saturday night's main event there. I naturally thought about names that would have been during the heyday of it in the late 80s and early 90s. But Stone Cold's a name it's an interesting name for a pop.
Yeah, no, he definitely won the New York, though. Yeah, you could see him. Yeah, I'd say 50-50 with him for sure.
All right, well, that's obviously interesting. I definitely think that's interesting. But there's Robbie. He wrestled the Assassin, the new trainee of Mr. Matsuda, and very impressive. Good stuff there. Check it out. He did a great job. I really enjoyed the match a lot. I watched it this morning, so some fun stuff there. I'll leave it up here for the chat for a minute. My old buddy Hillbilly Tilly, who's reappearing back onto Sportswire, would like to say hello. How you doing? But he's also got something else he wants to say, which is Drew and Cody needs to be a storyline after SummerSlam, and Drew McIntyre needs to be the one to take it off Cody Rhodes. Now, interesting there, Randy. Who is the guy to take the title off Cody Rhodes? I mean, you talked about Cody not losing the title for a while. Drew's obviously been somebody that, had a run that we've talked about during COVID as champion. And kind of unfortunate what happened there. He had the title for, a minute, earlier this year. But what do you think about that? Who would be the person then to take the WWE Undisputed Championship off Cody Rhodes? Who is that person?
Drew McIntyre definitely, I would say, is on the list. CM Punk would be on the list as well because I think there's history.
Even with the age of CM Punk and his maybe unsure viability in the ring in terms of being a champion, he's still on that list for you?
He's on that list because I think he can be a draw and he can play either. You want to be the good guy, you want him to be the bad guy in the situation. He can get the attention. John Cena, I'm going to throw just because he's close to
one more run. Yeah,
John record. Cena. And then Randy Orton, the other one I can think of that could be. I'm not going to say Roman because I think Roman doesn't need a title right now. Roman's a big enough draw where he doesn't.
He had the title for 3.5 years. To go back to Roman, it's like, well, we just got the title off him. Everybody complained about him being champion. It would be like if Hogan had won the title and had it for 3+ years, like we said back in the 80s, and all of a sudden they went back to him. They waited a year. Macho Man got the championship. He held the title for a year, and then WrestleMania 5, Hogan got the belt back. So to me, I almost feel like to go back to Roman right away, I don't know if that's the right move. I think, to me, Drew's interesting. I'm skeptical on Punk because of the age, and WWE has shied away from guys in their mid-40s to be a champion. Cena would be interesting because I would imagine it's a short-term run, a la like Hogan in 2002, Shawn Michaels in 2002, where you hold the belt for a month, 2 months, and it's just to let him have, obviously, the history. That's, to me, what that would be about. So I think Cena would make sense.
And the one other person maybe is Seth Rollins. I know we've seen Cody versus Rollins before, but I think
Well, history there writes itself because of, obviously, Cody coming back and he beat Seth and their history there. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm. But other than that, I don't see anyone else. Like, I would say Gunther if he dropped the world title just because the history with him and Cody, but I don't think he's dropping it anytime soon.
That's the title on the Raw end. I just don't know.
I don't see really any other valuable any other heels really making a case, like either on Raw or SmackDown. Like there's not really someone there that can make that case.
I think Cena, if you really value history or somebody to beat Flair's record, Cena would be the guy that I think would make sense. I mean, it would make sense, but I don't know. I don't know. Does WWE want it to be Cena? Do they want to be Cena? He also hasn't won a match in a long time.
Yeah,
so
he hasn't won a match.
You got to win matches first. So I don't know if that's a point here. Let me get to some more comments while we're talking. Thank you for that. Want to say hello to my buddy, Mr. Abraham Storm, who had a video posted on Instagram earlier today. Let me give Abraham a plug because I know Abraham is going to get on here probably before Christmas of some sort. So I want to give Abraham a nice little plug. I want to support those that have been supporting us. And let's give him a little follow. So he's at 147 subs. So do me a favor. If you're here right now in the chat, hit a sub button for the thunderous one, Mr. Abraham Storm. And Abraham's definitely going to give us some storms. Randy, we had plenty of rain here in the New York area for a change. We were on this big drought warning, but we got so much rain. I thought Abraham Storm was out there just drenched us with some thunderstorms out there. But he's got a YouTube channel. Go out there and give it a follow. He's 3 subs away from 150, and he is definitely one of our favorites. Let me go to some other people. Also, let me come back to this. I think Randy Orton takes the title off Cody Rhodes. What do you think about that?
If that's the plan, it makes sense because the history between the two, and we've seen Randy Orton eyeing that title for so long.
And the history between them, well documented.
And then I think it also sets up where it's easy enough for someone else to take the title off Orton. We saw in the COVID
another
era,
Cena situation, transitional champion. Yeah. Orton the champion. Like the run he had, was it 2020? He held
2020 where he had it for like 3 weeks and McIntyre took it. So I can see that enough to be like he wins it, then someone else can kind of take it back and give him a chance.
I hate to bring it up. Does that where Cena gets one more run?
Yeah, that could be a possibility. I think that because there's so much talk about. See, I think someone made a post saying Orton beats in. Kevin Owens beat Cody, which I don't think going to happen. Orton beats at the Rumble, and then Orton and Cena.
Kevin Owens hasn't won like any title match against anybody of any sorts. He's just been a good utility player. He's believable enough in these title matches, but he really doesn't really win any of them. But he's a good. I hate to say it, he's a good filler. He's a utility player. He's basically
exactly.
For you as a hockey guy, he's a good third liner. He can do a little bit of offense. He can play defense. He can maybe kill a power play, but he's not a first line player. And that's unfortunately I see Kevin Owens right now at the moment.
Kevin Owens is this version of Kane. This timeline of Kane.
Yeah.
Kane, you could put anywhere up and down the roster if you needed him, and that's where kind of Kevin Owens fits.
It's a good line. The only thing I would say is I felt Kane was still a little bit more believable as a champion, but it's a fair comparison that they were like, you could put him in the main event. It's still believable enough. You could drop him down the card a little bit, but it helps his opponent. And it keeps him around. It's a fair comparison. I would still say it's a little more where I see Kane is more of a
Kane has a little bit more of an edge, but they fit kind of the same bill, pretty much.
Okay, good call. I want to say hello to my friend, Mr. Dave Jamison. Dave Jamison is from our friends over at PWX. They have a 30-year anniversary show. One of the premier independent wrestling companies in the state of Pennsylvania, in central Pennsylvania. I'm in such a good mood right now because I love everybody here tonight. I want to give a big plug to our friends at PWX, and obviously they got a huge show coming, which I'm actually going to put the link up here to it. And Day, yeah, definitely. I know you wrestled, obviously, my buddies, the Stompers, and Mr. T3, Thomas Taft, and Mr. DVG. So, yeah, we could definitely get your side of the story on things. But Day is going to be out there coming up tomorrow night for Pro Wrestling Express's 30-year anniversary. So if you want to buy a ticket, there's a couple of left. That's the link. Check it out. They've been pretty gracious in working with us the last couple of months. So, yeah, definitely message me. Are we friends on Facebook? I don't remember if we're friends on Facebook, but if we are or aren't, do message me. I'm at Tom Bryce, but I think we are friends on Facebook, and I'd love to definitely talk with you, and definitely I can message you definitely off the air. But, yeah, congratulations, 30 years. It's funny. We talk about WCW, we talk about ECW, but this company's actually been around nearly 4 times as long as those companies. I mean, WCW was around what, a third of PWX, and ECW was around a quarter, but this company's going strong, 30 plus years. Congratulations. So yeah, definitely. And if you are out here, hit the sub button for us at Sportswire Radio 657, and we'd appreciate it. And also, I got a good line here, and I'll get to some more comments. What do you think about the Motor City Machine Guns losing to the tag team champions to DIY? And obviously, Mr. Ryan would know a thing or two about winning championships. But what's your thoughts? And I think we covered it last week. I don't remember, but
we talked about last week. I was skeptical, but when I saw the promos of DIY and the Motor City Machine Guns, I thought this might be better than we expect. Because as I said, I wanted to see heel Ciampa, heel Gargano. I have mixed feelings about, but I think maybe this might be the right way to move the two along, because the promo they delivered was great backstage. And then you talk about the Motor City Machine Guns, everything they've done, and you want to keep them relevant. Well, this is a great way too. If you're going to give the title back to them down the line, go out with a bang. Like, you got to make them something relevant, where I think we saw with Ethan Page and NXT, they tried it and it worked. Sometimes you don't have the same the lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
And I felt that the kind of was going on with the Motor City Machine Guns. So they took the title off and let's build it up, because there's history there. I think the Profits, you got to think they're going to get involved, because they were supposed to get a title shot down the road last week as well. That DIY stole it. So this is going to be interesting. I'm interested to see.
So what are you saying? Do you think the Street Profits get the titles? Do you think the Machine Guns get them back, or do we give DIY a run for a little while? Because obviously it's a change. Gargano's got to change a character. He saw what Ciampa was saying. A lot of people have been waiting for them to go on a run. So what are you implying here a bit there?
I think we're going to see DIY have the titles for a little bit, because I think you look at some of the heel tag team that's hold the titles. We saw earlier with Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, it was bland. We saw with the Tonga brother, Tongaloa and Tonga with the Bloodline. They were just rushed into it, and there was nothing to build. I think give DIY a little bit run if they can keep this momentum going. They got the interest. You can build up. You have WrestleMania down the line. You have Chamber. You have some time to kind of work it in before, if you want them to drop the titles or not. So I say let them play it out maybe for a month or a couple of months.
But you know what's interesting is we're here with Mr. Randy Dillon. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice figuratively and literally, where all wrestling matters. Is that, we spoke about the world title, right? Roman has this amazing run. Cody's been champion. You were talking about, well, who's the person to take the title off Cody? But yet the tag team championships, relatively speaking, is like a hot potato.
That's on SmackDown, Tom. If you watch the Raw, the Judgment Day.
I know, but I got that. I got the Judgment Day doesn't defend the titles, but on the SmackDown end of it, it's been a hot potato.
I think they made a mistake giving the Bloodline the tag team titles way too early. I think it should have been done a little bit later on, or they should have been built up a little bit more before giving them the titles.
That's done on purpose because they were trying to get the Guns in here, and the Guns were promised the belt.
There's so many things with why the Guns got it. I think there was a rumor thing they were supposed to be the Lucha Bros actually getting the belt over the Guns, because the Guns were supposed to go to NXT.
You know how this goes. Somebody comes in here, and obviously you have to give them something. I mean, unfortunately.
But I think that giving the Guns the belt right away was the right decision, because I think want to give the belt from the yard. I think if Alex Shelley and Chris David, they are known to the wrestling world, not to the.
No, absolutely. Listen, I mean. Alex Shelley was the TNA Impact Wrestling World Champion not too long ago, and these guys they had a long career. I mean, it's about time really that they're in WWE. I mean, you talk about they've been known to the wrestling world for close to 2 decades. I mean, if it was a now or never moment that I think that they were going to come here.
And the one thing I think a lot of people forget is wrestling is like promotion, like WWE, is a story. It's like a TV show. You need to develop your character. You have to give it the twists and turns. It can't just be all here, one and done, go off in the sunset.
Which is AEW's problem. We've talked
exactly about. Where I think
get maybe a week or two of something, and then you move on. It's yesterday's news.
And I think that keep the interest in the Motor Machine Guns as well for a little bit longer, because I think their lust were kind of like, okay, they were in winning. People were excited. Now kind of fall. Now it's like, okay, we have a reason now. They got screwed out of the title. They got screwed by Johnny Gargano. Let's see what happens now.
Yeah, I think it adds some spice to the tag
Yeah.
division. It does do some different things like that. Let me get to some more comments. Got a lot of people here in the chat, so people are definitely excited. Things are going well. We appreciate that. Let me give Randy a little plug. Randy's on Instagram. For my Instagram people out there, give him a follow. He's on Instagram. He is a fan of the NHL and the WWE. He likes to travel to different cities to watch sports and wrestling. You like to check him out. There he was at Survivor Series. There he was at some different places. So I'm going to put up his Instagram handle. So if you'd like to give him a follow, I would hope you do so. And I don't need to put my info on people. Unfortunately, Randy, people know who I am, so I don't need to do that. But let's give Randy a follow. Let me get to some more comments. Yeah, as part of the collective, they cheated, and thank you for the plug for PWX. And we are friends on Facebook. Great. I'll get in touch with you. Maybe we can do something this week. Tell me what your schedule is, and maybe we can arrange something, because I should have a couple of days or two available coming up in the next week. So let's definitely touch base. I'd definitely love to do that. Speaking of people, one of my dear friends, I hope, his name is Mr. Oswald Brightside. He has been a big topic in the world of wrestling, whether it's promo wrestling, underground wrestling, backyard wrestling. Certainly a man that could give Bray Wyatt a run for his money. And he's actually, I think he's one of the most interesting things going around right now. And I got to give him a plug because he's actually close to 500 subscribers. So let me go give him a plug. I remember when he had like 10 subscribers and he didn't know how to, somebody didn't know how to put up his YouTube handle. But now he's got a YouTube page. But he does want to say that another beautiful night listening to the voice of the underground. It's good to see you tomorrow and friends. Well, it's today, though. I mean, it's today. But I mean, I'll give you a pass because obviously we don't want to be in your, let's just say, crosshairs. But you can see a bunch of his stuff. His most recent show is up that he put up the origins of who he was. And yes, that is him. And definitely check him out. He also wants to say here, pardon me, Tom and friends. Okay, but yeah, give him a follow. I think I just put up his YouTube handle. So if you want to check him out, it's Mr. Brightside. Ha ha ha. What a clever name. So I'll put it up here in the chat. Let me get to some more comments because a lot of people want to talk, and that's always a good thing. Let me pull this back up. Okay. Motor City Machine Guns is my favorite tag team in wrestling. He knows a thing or two about tag teaming because he's one of the part of the premier teams in Wrestling Zero. So they have a lot of fans, and that it does. By them losing the belts, I guess you could say, let's see what they have as a chaser and give some interest and spices up the tag division, I suppose, then.
It keeps them relevant. It keeps them in the page. It keeps them going. It doesn't keep them it doesn't kind of, they keep winning the title and they lose it. This way, it's like there's something to push for them. That you want them to win the titles.
Right. Because if you're champion for a long period of time and, you want to see what everybody has. I mean, you use the word yourself, story, right? WWE is a story. So the story, you're going to have twists and turns. Not every character wins. I know Roman just had this, long streak. I know Hogan has done it. Undertaker, obviously, Goldberg still wishes he was undefeated. But, at the end of the day, you obviously have to have some type of, where the character deals with struggles and has to overcome obstacles. So, well said. Dave would like to say Motor City Machine Guns are a dope tag team, and he knows he's in a tag team also with Daniel Tafua. So he knows a thing or two about that. So it's amazing to me, for a team, Randy, that hadn't been in WWE up until a few months ago, has so many fans. There was such a stigma for so long. Oh, you weren't in WWE, but today, there's plenty of people that seem like they're Motor City Machine Guns fans. It's interesting.
Oh, definitely. Like from the late 2000s, you see them and you always wonder what was going to happen. Yeah. I think definitely it helped that I think if Vince was still in charge, I don't think they would be there. But I think because Triple H, the change of the guard, they see the talent, they're definitely get more of a chance.
I'm gonna make the chat laugh. Well, if Vince was still there, I don't think most of his locker room would still be there.
Yeah, that is true as well.
Austin
Theory might be champion for all we know.
Well, Austin Theory might be champion, and you might see Omos in the main events regularly, and But then wouldn't be most of the locker room there.
Punk would not be there. Let's just
Punk
put that
wouldn't
out
be
there.
there. Yeah, a lot of people wouldn't be there. I will ask you about somebody who I think should be coming back soon, but I'll come back to some different things. When are you going to have me on to come discuss some football? Well, when do you want to come on to discuss some football? I haven't heard from you in a while, and I'm talking football a little bit tonight. I'm talking football next Friday. So just message me on Instagram. Yeah, I will talk football later tonight. Would you like to talk football? I mean, so just tell me when. I mean, just simple as that. So yeah, just tell me if you want to talk football. I'm gonna make Hillbilly Tilly's life a little easy. I would hope. I mean, but give him a follow on Instagram. And I gotta talk AWL. I haven't talked AWL in a while, but I was supposed to have AJ Morgan and Victor Thorne on, but it's been a while. I think we were supposed to do something a couple weeks ago, but that's his Instagram handle. Go out there and give him a follow. So yeah, if you hear this message, Hillbilly Tilly, I'm talking football probably toward midnight, maybe like 11:45, and I'm talking football next week. Although I'm doing an abbreviated show, I don't know if I'm doing wrestling to start because I'm on the air early in the evening, but I will probably come back on at some point, but stay tuned for those details. But yeah, I mean, I don't know when you're wanting to come on. You have to message me. Mr. Brightside would like to say that DIY, though, is the best tag team going in wrestling right now. So there's a difference of opinion. What do you think?
I think this is definitely the spark DIY needed to get their momentum going. Obviously, I think the lightning the ball they had in 2016-17 was not there. And I think, listen, let's change it up. Let's get them, again, some character development story going on, what's going on. Because we know the talent there, but how can we keep it interesting? And this is how you do it.
Good point. All right, let me get to some more comments because I think people want to talk about this. Rob Ryan wants to ask, I don't know, we talked about this last week. I don't remember what we said, but somebody can go back and watch it. Obviously, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. Boy, some reactions they got Monday night, though, huh?
Holy I'm like, booed. Like, if you wanted to talk about making a statement,
I thought John Tavares, when he came back to the Islanders, was bad. Boy, I saw Kofi and Xavier get some, let's just say,
they were getting hated. The reaction was to get the heat on Kofi and Xavier. Job well done, because I think for so long these guys were so like the Boodio, everything they did with how the New Day was. They were kind of like an act, like a comedy act, and you just love to watch them.
Yeah, I asked you about that. I think we spoke about this. I don't think it was last week, but maybe it was the week prior. And I asked you, how do you think this will go? How do you think this will play out? Because they had just been beloved for so long. I think it had been, almost a decade since they had been really heels. And I think we got our answers.
Exactly. Like, I was saying Kofi was someone like Rey Mysterio. He wasn't going to turn heel. You can't turn this guy heel. But I think
Sting, I brought up Sting when WCW turned him. He turned as a face right away back. Goldberg, they turned as a heel. He came right back. I mean, not everybody, can play that role.
The one thing I think what might keep this going is Xavier can talk. He can do the talking and learn, and Kofi can kind of learn how to get better, because I think Kofi as a talker, as a heel, it would not work. I think with Xavier Woods and his mic skills,
Xavier Woods can talk.
I think it's going to keep this interesting and going.
Let me ask you this question. We're here with Randy Dillon. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. You have voice figuratively and literally. We're all wrestling matters. Let me ask you this question. And I was listening to, obviously, Anthony Steele, a man that I'm sure some of my listeners know very well. And I actually heard Matt Hardy make some of the same points that Mr. Steele had made, in that Matt Hardy thought that Big E was already cleared and he was going to come back. I mean, just to talk about that for a minute, because I thought about our conversation last week on the air, and Matt Hardy said like almost the same things verbatim as Mr. Steele said. So do you think now we're a week after this, what has happened, that Big E will definitely come back, or where do you fall into that?
This is something I was actually thinking about after we went off the air, Tom. Because if this was maybe 10, 15 years ago, I would say Big E's coming back. But how modern medicine, the technology have changed. And I think with a broken neck, only so many have recovered. They say Stone Cold. They said Kurt Angle. How many neck surgeries has Kurt Angle had to go through after to get his neck fixed?
Well, Stone Cold was never the same ring-wise.
Short career. He was finished
yeah.
7 years. 7 years he was after. You kind of I think 6 years maybe after that he kind of was off.
He was never the same though. After we're talking about SummerSlam '97, his ring style, he was just a punching kicker. I mean, I know Steele, to his credit, brought up Edge, and
Edge was gone for 10 years though, and you even got to look at it. I think the COVID, and when he even came back, the whole COVID thing, I think kind of helped him because you could kind of practice more. And then Kurt Angle, just look at his history with the neck surgery.
Kurt Angle, I think that the doctor would have told him he wasn't going to wrestle, he was going to do that. We know famously that Vince, oddly enough, one of, I guess, the rare Vince W's, said he didn't want him to go out there. He wanted him to go take off, and Angle didn't want to do that, which famously led to him leaving the WWE back in 2006.
Yeah, you remember how much his history at that time with the pills and all that, like, it definitely a change. So it gets interesting because we saw with Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson, it was 2 years, and you even saw him come back in the ring. They were very careful. Sierra Paige, she didn't really come back at all. Like she left, and then AEW, the doctor said, okay, you're kind of clear. She goes to AEW. You look at Edge or Adam Copeland, you look at him, he goes to AEW after W, and he's kind of on the injury reserve for a neck. Daniel Bryan's having serious neck injury problems.
Well, Bryan Danielson, I think it's pretty much, I don't think he's going to wrestle again, it sounded like.
He said earlier this week he was going to wrestle at All In Texas, but that's still a wild way to go, so we'll see there. But I think they're playing this very close to the cards. I think this is such an impact, not only, and we talked about this in wrestling, and I think a lot of fans who say, oh, wrestlers should do this, all that, they put their livelihood, and the last thing they want to do is be paralyzed from the waist down, neck up, and can't bend down and pick up their kids or enjoy life after.
Yeah, and I was even listening to something where they were talking about like the NFL salaries and the major league salaries compared to like the revenue, and there was this suit that I think UFC was involved in, and they talked about WWE as independent contractors, and for the revenue that UFC makes and WWE makes, they're both a part of TKO. It's like nowhere near average salary-wise what the NFL players make, the NHL, even the NHL players, and certainly the NBA players and the Major League Baseball players. So, I mean, really, if you can't do those simple tasks, you're not going to be able to work. And I mean, the money doesn't stay permanent. I mean, these guys make a lot of money. I was listening to I don't know if you ever listen to Buff Bagwell's podcast now, and he does it on YouTube. And he was talking about the fact he went from making like $700,000 to $1,000 to $1 million a year, and he got released by the WWE, and that was it. He had to, that's it. I mean, there's no other, you don't have other skills, so it's a big thing.
It is, and I definitely think, listen, they've tried things out with I think there was a report that they wanted to get him on commentary, but he said he couldn't because he couldn't hold his bladder for that long. They got him on the post shows. I think he's a great thing there. I think they're trying to get him involved one way or another, but I think they're being very careful about it. If he returns, I would be happy to see him in the ring, but I also would be scared because I think of the livelihood after the ring. Like what their life after the ring, because they're just like me and you. After the ring, they're just a regular person. What they're like, not everyone the Roman Reigns, John Cena, The Rock, where they become megastars.
Well, and I think that's the point, because again, now those people are in the stratosphere, but not everybody gets this. There's a small pool of people. Abraham Storm is Motor City Machine Guns all the way. No more Power of Positivity.
No, now the fight. I don't even know what they're going to say anymore. So.
Well, we'll have to figure it out. Bryan Danielson was another one. We spoke about him with the neck injury. Yeah, we spoke about that, and that's another guy that definitely has made some certainly decisions, and he's had some risk, and that's the risk you take here. If you're making them, yes, it's a great salary, but if you're not in the mega stratosphere like a Cena, if you're like a Roman Reigns, even an Undertaker, it's a big decision. And let me say hello to my friends who follow me on YouTube, and I think want to come on to Sportzwire Radio, and I'm glad we connected. Our friends in Carolina Trampoline Wrestling. Randy, we're everywhere, and I'm going to give Carolina Trampoline Wrestling a plug in a minute. But it's an interesting point here. New Day will reunite one day. Is that something you think? Is that possible after what we've seen so far? What do you think?
I could see New Day reuniting, but more of a return to the Hall of Fame, or they just kind of do something.
I
Like
mean, that's not in character. I mean, that's
that. But I think for the maybe in a year, maybe they could kind of bring it back. But I think New Day, this is until we know what's exactly going to go on with Big E. I really think this is what we're going to see a heel New Day with Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston.
and I would even think if Big E comes back, that I mean, you're going to still keep them heel. Where does New Day go, though, as heels? Is it tag team championships? Is it just solely based on Big E? I mean, like, where do you think that all goes?
I definitely think the New Day should win the tag team titles because right now the Judgment Day of tag team title, they're not doing the job with Finn and JD. I really don't know how they're still champions at this point. I think the New Day, listen, this is a veteran tag team. They've been around. They've dominated the tag team division for so long. And with Raw, you have all these new tag teams. You have the War Raiders. You have the Wyatt Six with their group. You have the Final Destination, not what they're called, but with Karrion Kross, their group. You have some interesting mix with the wrestlers. So I think New Day could be what the Raw tag team division needs to get it going.
It's a good line. And if you want to follow Carolina Trampoline Wrestling, give them a follow. They got 3,360 subscribers on YouTube because I just gave them a sub. So there you go. But do give them a sub. And CTW, what a surprise. Well, also in the Carolinas. And Xavier Woods, I believe, has not won a major singles championship in his career. At this stage in his career, is that something you see as a possibility?
This was something I was also thinking about, Tom, because it's just like because when people were talking about Chad Gable, like they're like saying, "Oh, Chad Gable got a push, Triple H ruined him," all that stuff, and I just think there's only so many championships in WWE, and there's only so many guys.
Right.
It's hard to give everyone the title unless they're willing to hold it for 4 or 5 days. Because you look at Raw, the Intercontinental title, Braun Breaker.
The 24/7 championship was for that, Randy. You get the title and you lose it in like 4 minutes later. That was the point.
That was more of I think more of a joke than anything. And I don't think and that's more Vince's humor and all that stuff. He can get guys over. But I think how you want to be a champion and you want to hold that title well. But you look at guys like who are holding the Intercontinental title, Braun Breaker. You're going to give him that push because you can see what he do. The U.S. title, okay, right now it's kind of gone in a little bit of funk, and we'll see if Nakamura run can get it rolling unless they have something else planned. But it's hard just to put someone in a title picture and give them a title. We see it with AEW where someone gets a few wins, they win a match. Okay, we'll give you the international title or the continental or all these random titles.
If you look, does it matter for a guy like Xavier Woods in his career? Does it matter? Like, if you looked at Billy Gunn's career, right? I know he had a cup of coffee with the Intercontinental title. Did you really think differently of Billy Gunn's career? I mean, you look at certain guys. I mean, okay, Bubba Ray as Bully Ray did win a couple of world titles in TNA, but do you look at Xavier Woods' career really that different if he wins or doesn't win a singles title? I mean, he's just had such an iconic career. Does it really make a difference? You can make a case on that.
I think if he wins a single title, is that going to be his career remembered by? His career is going to be remembered by him working with the New Day, what he's done, his work on his channel.
Like if he wins the Intercontinental title this year, am I going to think any differently at this point?
You might forget in a few years, you might forget this guy won the IC title or he won the United States title. You think of champions who win the title, they remember. Otherwise, they kind of become an afterthought. Like, how many times have Kofi Kingston, you think, won the IC title, the United States champion? You're like, you got to remember, wait, Kofi was champion. But you remember Kofi more for Kofi Mania. You remember him more for the work.
I think Kofi's different because Kofi won the big one. He had the story. Xavier Woods' career, to me, if he wins the Intercontinental title or doesn't, or if he wins a United States title, like I don't think anything's going to be different on his career. So does he really need a singles title run?
it would be nice, but I don't think he needs it at this point in
No,
his career.
and I think that's exactly my point. And I think as a veteran wrestler, the tag titles, yeah, you want to give him a run to spice things up. All right, I would be okay with that. I don't even know if they need a belt at this point, but there is a reason Xavier Woods hasn't had a singles run. Are we talking about something off from the internet? Are we talking about a video from years ago? Is that what it is? Is that what I think we're talking about with a
If that
certain?
was the case, I don't think he would have became this big with New Day.
Okay,
Like,
if I think he's talking about that video with a certain person in AEW that had a movie fighting for my no, it was fighting for my family. I mean, well, whose name starts with an S now, right? And was a P, starts with a P in WWE when she was here. I don't know if that. Well, AJ was fighting for my family, but certainly, if it's what I think he's referring to, Mr. Hillbilly Tilly, I mean, but he's already had a run in WWE for over a decade. They didn't get rid of
he
him.
was
So.
one of, even during that period, he was still the New Day was still so successful.
Well, he's
So,
got a line to follow up. And let me say hello to Mr. Southern Silk, who is also from Carolina Trampoline Wrestling. He says, smooth, baby. Well, I guess somebody's smooth, but if you want to give Carolina Trampoline Wrestling a follow, do that. And he did message me. Well, he commented on one of my videos on YouTube, but check out Carolina Trampoline Wrestling. And yeah, definitely get in touch with me. I'm on Instagram at the Sports Report 2021. I don't know if we follow each other on Instagram. Randy, I've lost count on how many followers I have, so I'm forgetful, so I do apologize. But do get in touch. I would love to obviously talk to you. Yeah, for sure. We can definitely do something, so that would be interesting. So definitely give me a message. I would love that. Okay, so let me come back to him. And also, Xavier Woods is a good enhancement talent. He has mic skills, but nothing special about his in-ring ability. His character, though, is WWE. You can't take him seriously as a champion. So that's his response. What do you think?
I agree with Hillbilly Tilly. Like, I think you look at there's so much talent in WWE, so even over the years, but it's just like, how do you make it work? How do you make it attraction? I think the New Day worked because you had Woods' mic skills and what he brings. You have Biggie
power, the size.
You had Kofi's experience, his ability. I think
and his moves, his kind of acrobatic Houdini style. So all they blended. They were basically the perfect storm, the perfect marriage.
And you look at his career and go back to TNA, Consequence, Creed. He had single runs, but it just couldn't mix. Now, sometimes it works. Like we look at Luke Harper, like great John Harper, Brody Lee. Yep. He found moves early in AEW. Sometimes
I brought up Bully Ray in TNA. He finally, he got over it. He got over the hurdle and he won the world title in TNA and had some really good years in TNA. Some great years. I mean, so it's not, you can overcome being a tag team wrestler. I mean, but there are guys that maybe they get typecasted. Maybe Billy Gunn was one that I never really got over the hurdle. Road Dogg, but there were different demons. I mean, so it's
you look at John Morrison, The Miz. I think that's the perfect example. Like,
yeah, the Morrison couldn't do it. Yep.
Yeah, no. I know he had success in TNA a little, but
he didn't have the success. I mean, he had okay success in WWE, but I mean, The Miz had a far more successful career. I mean, The Miz is still going. I mean,
exactly. But you look at some of the work The Miz even did after he left Morrison, just how much.
One fascinating point, to me, The Miz went from a guy who couldn't even dress in the WWE locker room to a guy that I think he's wrestled statistically like the most matches or like right up there in the top 5 in WWE history. Mm-hmm. If you would have said that to me like 20 years ago, I'd have said, what?
I think you would have said that to me 10 years ago. I would have still laughed.
But here he is. I mean, here he is. He keeps going. And we got some new people here in the chat. Yes, Zilla. Yes, we do. We have a lot of new people here in the chat, and we really appreciate them. Yes, we do. Who else we got here? I got the Southern Silk comment. Who else we got? Yep. Hello. Don't think Xavier Woods would carry a title well. Yeah, I kind of agree. I just think you give the title to somebody that needs it. Now, I understand the point that, there have been plenty of guys who've won titles in WWE. You were like, I would love a do-over on them. But, I mean, I just think at this stage in Woods' career, does he really need a singles run is my point.
Yeah, I don't think, because I think the way they're going, it just doesn't make sense. Like, even
No.
you thought about it earlier. If they would have pushed Xavier Woods, now looking at kind of how they're doing with the New Day, they made the right move, because if Xavier Woods did go single, he got a little run. You look at some of the Raw roster. Okay, let's say he get in a feud with Jey Uso. Jey Uso is going to win that feud, and then he just
Yeah.
kind of get pushed
And
down the card.
that's also my point. Who is Xavier Woods going over in a feud that's viable? You know, like, who would you say that Xavier Woods in a feud is going to definitely go? I mean, they couldn't go over Karrion Kross.
No.
So who's there that he could? That's why, to me, at this point, I don't know what's the viability. I'm not saying that I didn't. Thank you for that. We'll have the regular guys come on here in about 10 or 15 minutes. But Randy got a lot of people tonight. People, big crowd tonight.
I'm glad.
Well, I think people on Sportswire, you know, it's been a really good, like, you know, November wasn't like a great month, but this month has been. We're back. Who would you like to see in the Royal Rumble? Is there any surprises? Anybody you'd like to see in the Rumble?
That's a tough one. I would like to see Joe Henry make another appearance, but I know his contract coming up. But we'll see. For NXT, give me Obafemi. I want to see Obafemi dominate the Rumble. And for surprise returns, this isn't. Who could we get?
Can I throw it out because you said TNA? I mean, it would be an interesting pop. I don't know if it's feasible. What about the Hardys?
The Hardys would be an interesting pop, but I know they just signed new deals in TNA, but
to come to do a surprise appearance in the Rumble. I mean,
it works.
Rob Van Dam in the Rumble. Just saw him in
RVD. I could see him. I could see maybe him showing up. Maybe you get someone like Kevin Nash, Pat McAfee kind of always does something cool.
I think McAfee, I don't know about Nash at this point. Nash has got like no knees, but I mean, yeah, he's 65. I don't know. It's a good one. Well, I got one for you. Charlotte Flair.
I think we're going to see Charlotte Flair before.
Oh, yeah. And when do you think we're going to see it? Netflix? Tomorrow, maybe?
No, you stole my thunder there. I think Charlotte Flair we could see tomorrow, especially with this window, because I'm getting a little bored of this Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan situation. We need something to spice it up.
So Charlotte's going to Raw, not SmackDown?
Listen, if they're if Netflix wants the viewers, you bring Charlotte to SmackDown. You bring Charlotte to Raw. You need so that way I could see, and I think she could add something more, and then we could down the road. I would be okay with more. I can't do a Liv versus Rhea at WrestleMania. I just can't.
I think we got to end this. It's like I got it already. I mean, Liv is scared of Rhea. We got Raquel in there. We got the Judgment Day. I get it. We're going on what now? 5 months with this already. Let's wrap it up already.
It was fine at first, but I think now they're just dragging it out. It needs to, and that's why I think either Io Sky is going to win the title tomorrow, or Charlotte Flair is going to make a return and surprise the world.
Well, you know what? That's a good point. And I know I got some people in here, and I got to plug myself for a minute, actually. And there's a reason why I have to plug myself. So if you're here in the chat, do me a favor. And I usually don't like to plug myself, but there's actually a little vote here that Sportzwire Radio is involved in, and I want to put it up here on the screen for the chat. So I got a whole bunch of new people in here, so do me a favor. Go out there. We're up for a vote here in WCE. Our friends with Sean Jovi and Nicholas Crenson and James Marshall and Chaz J and even the STBW guys. But we are up here for an award for which will be the best commercial of the year, which is actually our promo, Randy, for the 900 subscribers. So if you're here right now, do me a favor, go out there and vote in WCE's poll because we are in the lead, and I'm just going to spam the votes. So hopefully we'll stay in the lead, and we're at 70%. So you never know. I come from the world of politics, and you never take anything for granted. So if you're here in the chat, do me a favor, go to WCE's YouTube channel and vote for us here for our commercial of the year. And I've been plugging your channel, so do me a favor. I'd appreciate it. Thank you for that. I mean, I don't even know Xavier's finishing move as a singles wrestler, which is exactly why
I don't think he has one.
Well, that just is exactly why he's not winning a singles championship anytime soon. So that's exactly why. Who else we got here? Oh, it's a good one. I did see that. Tessa Blanchard returned to TNA. She may be in the Rumble. It would be risky. Yeah, with her past. Yeah.
I think there's a reason why WWE has not signed Tessa Blanchard. Like she had there's some baggage with her, and I think TNA kind of knows what they're working with. That's why. But I don't think WWE wants to cross that bridge. I could see
TKO, corporate. Yeah. I mean, it's a very valid point. I want to say hello to our buddy, Mr. TBK, the Baltimore kid. You all are killing it tonight, fellas. Yeah, big crowd, definitely big crowd. And Orioles made some good signings, I think. If they don't have him as a debut in January for whatever reason, would love to see Penta as a surprise Rumble entry. That's a good one. That's actually a pretty good name. That's actually I heard a little bit.
It's interesting because I don't know what he's gonna do right now since Ray Felix is kind of trapped in AEW.
Well, that's exactly why TBK is saying he should be a surprise Rumble entrant. That's actually, a good idea. I mean, but we'll have to see. I mean, the powers that be always have different ways to come up with things. But let me give another shout out. I got more people here. My buddy Silas Walker. I was watching Silas yesterday on DBW. And Silas was certainly battling with management there and Stephen Gaynor, but instead he's got Chase Wakefield, who's back here on Friday night. I'm sure Mr. Walker will be upset about that, his old friend, but he's got a YouTube channel. He's almost at 1,000 subs. It's the holiday spirit, Randy, so I'm just plugging everybody. So if you're out there, you want to get the plug, I'll plug you. Silas is a frequent guest here on Sportswire. He'll be back here, and I hear through the grapevine some DBW guests are coming on here. A couple of them. I have 2 in the works. So Mr. Walker, I'm sure, will be tuned into one of them. One of them, not so much. But that's his YouTube channel. Give him a sub. I think we just spoke about Tessa Blanchard returning to TNA. I mean, it's it's a good move, I guess, for TNA. Alexa Bliss in the Rumble, please. You want to see Alexa Bliss?
That needs to happen. There's been talks about her coming back. I think they're planning post-Mania, but I think getting the Rumble, seeing how the crowd reaction going to come out, definitely would nice to see.
Alexa Bliss is a name I think a lot of people would love to see. I think it's been a while. That's an interesting one. Nick Nemeth in the Royal Rumble. Nick Nemeth. The
problem with Nick Nemeth is he's known by Dolph Ziggler. Like, do you bring I think the crowd would hijack and just start chanting Ziggler the whole night. So it might
Nemeth. But Nick Nemeth.
But definitely, I could listen if they're open to it. I would love to see Nick Nemeth make a surprise entrance in the Royal Rumble.
You would have to think he'll be back in WWE.
I think one day maybe, but I think
maybe he'll be back in WWE. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame, right? We know he's a Hall of Famer, right?
Definitely, but I think the road TKO is going on. They're really changing. They want people more active to be on. They still have the guys who can mentor and stuff, but they're really trying to go get more of the younger guys.
But he's still, he's not 50. I mean, he's, he was there as a mentor type. I mean, you could say that. I mean, let me go here and get to some more people. TBK says hello to Zella. Let some NXT guys be surprise Rumble entrants. Ethan Page, Nick Aldis. Nick Aldis would be awesome in the Rumble. Nick Aldis, interesting name. Nick Aldis.
Nick Aldis, I really want to see him in the ring, but I think he's doing a good job at the GM.
Do you think he can wrestle a match or two still?
I think he can have one. I think he can definitely do one match. Like, you look at some of the work, like the RKO Randy Orton, the history with Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre. You definitely think, I think he has one match in him, but I think right now there's no plan.
The character doesn't lend it to where it's there for him. I understand. Hello there to Silas Walker. Yes, we got a lot of people. Randy, a lot of people tonight want to talk. I almost, poor Rob Maraska's waiting to talk the Mets. We'll get him on here. I promise we'll get him on. TNA partnership. If they let TNA guys in the Rumble, I'd love to see Moose.
Oh, Moose! I think Moose already expressed, because Moose really said he was mad when they had their working relationship with AEW Moose back in 2021. I think
Moose did really well in the Rumble too.
I think he would be great. I think Moose, who's someone who's really made a name for himself in TNA, he's unappreciative on how much.
And he looks like a WWE. He always looked like a WWE. He had the NFL background. He had the look, the charisma, the size. I mean, he would, to me, almost like replace what Bobby Lashley had here.
Oh, exactly. So definitely,
that's how I think.
Moose, yeah, we could see. I think that's definitely a surprise I'd like to see in the Rumble.
I'd like to see Su Yang back in TNA.
unfortunately, I don't know who.
Well, I did hear about Josh Alexander. I think is not going to do anything outside of TNA anymore. I did hear something about that. I don't know if it's of interest to
His
anybody.
contract expiring. The Rumbles, he might go to NXT, work with Ethan Page.
I actually got a name for you. Speaking of that, I have a name for you, and I'm surprised nobody's brought it up. If you're a TNA fan of sorts, what about Alexander Hammerstone?
That's an interesting name. That would
Alexander
definitely
Hammerstone.
be
That's
an
a name
interesting
that
name.
I mean Brock Lesnar Jr.
Yeah. That's when I.
By the way, did you see Brock Lesnar popped up? He was there. He was. I saw him on Instagram. I saw a photo of him. His sable looks completely different, and I don't know what that implies. I don't know what it means, but I mean, there was a sighting of Brock Lesnar. He lives. 71%. Thank you, Zilla. I appreciate that very much. Sue Yang and Rosemary is what I think the point was. Let me say hello to some more people. Oh boy, people are just they want to talk. My buddy, Mr. Ace Reed. Mr. Ace Reed, the man that is certainly, we are, I guess, I don't know if we're co-workers together. I don't know what you want to call us, but we are a part of our friends over at Wrestling Zero. Let me give a plug for Wrestling Zero because Ace was certainly a huge part of today's show, and I was actually a part of the show as well. So if you're here right now, do me a favor. Go hit the sub button for Wrestling Zero. Ace Reed will be back on Sportswire before the year is out. That's their page. Ace was a part of the main event. He had a lot to say, and it was a rather interesting finish. That's Ace's page. If you are here, Wrestling Zero, do me a favor, hit the sub. Oh, my buddy, Mr. Joe Dell. He's waiting for his cousin. We're going to get him on. Robin, Chris can show up in a few minutes for sure. Dolph Ziggler, it's been a while. That's why he's called Nick Nemeth. King Chaos. King Chaos is one of the new trainees in Wrestling Zero. Also, Su Yang is Rich Swan's wife. Yes, he is. That's Rich. That's going back in the time machine. What about Jake something in the Royal Rumble?
Jake,
I don't know.
I have no idea.
But Joe Dell's got a good one. Greatest Rumble entrance, Titus O'Neil.
I just think Titus needs to be like, I don't even care if it's 5 seconds. Titus just have to show up the Rumble because everyone wants to know if he's going to slide again. That's the thing.
I think Titus, I don't think Titus O'Neil is like ever wrestling again. I
don't think though. I think he's more, he does a lot of good
yet.
work back with their community. Good relationship, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he's in the Hall of Fame for it. He's been an ambassador. He's been a spokesman. I mean, I think that, we'll have a Hall of Fame in a minute, I'm sure, for somebody who's going to get into the Hall of Fame in a minute. But, yeah, I mean, that's great stuff. And speaking of House of Rage Productions, I got a big turnout here tonight. So do me a favor. Go follow Nathaniel Rage. And that's his page, certainly Rage Against the Machine. Okay, so I got to get the rest of the guys on here. I think I got Chris and Rob. I know Rob Maraska's waiting to talk. That's baseball. But, Randy, is there anything else wrestling-wise you want to say before we transition to the remaining minutes?
I want to quickly touch on AEW, not wrestling, more on what's going on with Ray Felix, and it's just becoming a mess. So apparently there's reports saying he needed medical attention. He went on a tweet and said, I need a doctor. No one listened. He deleted those tweets, but this is just one of the most bizarre things ever I've kind of seen with wrestling. Where someone's not getting medical attention or is not being looked at. We kind of heard Punk early in the year saying, listen, he with his torn tricep after the All-In incident, and he had to find someone to do the surgery. I think Miro Rusev commenting it took him a while to get his surgery done. This is a horrible image for not just in all together. I understand what they call wrestlers; they're independent contractors.
Yeah.
But you have to take care of them. Now, listen, they're not the greatest with that, but they try to take care of their superstar if they get hurt. The fact is,
I think I think in these athletes for what they put their bodies through, you have to. I just think that there's such
what
a high
AEW
risk
does, like the fact is someone like Darby Allin, who's pretty much one stunt away from being paralyzed, and I'm not joking.
You mentioned Adam Copeland. You mentioned him. I mean, we know.
You look at Daniel Bryanson, John Moxley, some of these guys who got surgeries, and they're fine and well. But you look at Ray Felix, I don't know because something else is going on. But the fact is, especially also the fact Tony Khan worked with the Jacksonville Jaguar, that medical team. Listen, I understand you can't share, but there's a knowledge there of community doctors saying, listen, do you have anyone that can help our guys out? Like, it's kind of it's embarrassing. Like the fact that these
No,
guys
I
exist,
think that in
they're alive.
2024, you got to treat people a lot differently, and especially with all the knowledge, all the tools that we have, and especially AEW with the Khan family because they own all these sports teams. I mean, so to me, it's just a no-brainer that you treat people better. It's almost like inhumane. I mean, I just to me, I can't fathom those things. But
And the fact is, if they're going to add the injury time on his contract, at least let him get fixed up. Like I know W did the same thing to Luke Harper in 2018 when he wanted to
yep,
get 19 when he went on leave, but at least they took care of Harper. They got him fixed up. Like I think that's the
yeah.
difference here. If you're going to keep them, get them fixed at least.
Absolutely. No, 100%. Couldn't agree more. And Big E, yep, that's definitely a name we talked about last week, spoke about him for a few minutes. And if he's cleared, I think we were talking about it. Matt Hardy basically said the same things that Anthony Steele said. So I don't know if Anthony Steele and Matt Hardy are communicating, but you never know in this world. But Matt Hardy pretty much said verbatim the same things that Anthony Steele said. So there is certainly that chatter. That would be an interesting name. That would be very, very interesting name, and a lot of people would love to see that. So, okay, well, we'll certainly see. I'm going to see if these guys want to finally pop on, and Rob Maraska will share us his Met memory. But in the meantime, I'm going to pass the baton to you. I'm going to give you some closing thoughts. Big crowd here tonight, and anything else you want to say, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Tom. Always a pleasure. Great to have a great night out with all the good attendance there. On a wrestling note, Saturday Night Main Event, I'm looking forward. My picks, I'm going to say Gunther retained, Drew McIntyre beat Sami Zayn, Cody Rhodes retained. I think Io Sky will beat Liv Morgan for the title tomorrow. And then Chelsea Greens is going to do something no one else could do in all BC and Vancouver, win a championship because the Canucks didn't. So I know a little joke there, but she's going to become the first United States champion. And it's going to be a good show, I think, tomorrow for Saturday Night Main Event. A quick note on hockey. The Avalanche made a big trade to get
an upgrade in
right?
Mackenzie Blackwood, right?
Yeah, they need goaltending because I think they realize this team is not as good as what they were a couple of years ago. The Rangers right now, they're having their ups and downs after the Trouba trade.
Rangers got to win. Islanders almost blew a 4-goal lead. If you thought the Islanders season was going to get any more topsy-turvy, I mean, they won, but it felt like they lost.
They survived. Like I've never seen. I've seen that a few times where a team might survive, but the way they were, how they just let that game get away from them, Patrick Waugh had a right to tear them apart.
But look, everybody's in it in the Eastern Conference.
In the East, you're 500, Tom. You said it. You're in it. Like Pittsburgh, they found their way back into it. The Sens are in it. The Canadians are not that far out. They can get them wins.
So. And that's, kind of where we are in the NHL. And we are here with Mr. Chris Pizzaya of the Liftoff Jets and the New York MLB Talk. And let me get to one more thing from Joe. Doink lived one town over from me. Which Doink was it? Was it the Doink? Was it the first Doink or was it the second Doink? Because it was two Doinks. There was
I remember
different Doinks, and that's Joe Dell. Guys come up with, it's a Friday night. It's the witching hour almost. So we get random things like he said Titus O'Neil was the greatest Royal Rumble entrance ever, and Doink the Clown.
That was still the funniest thing.
That was like random as heck, but he was one of the toughest guys in his town. He told me his knees are shot from the top rope, knee drops. They really do. Yeah, no, they do. Yes, I think that's the general point. Yes, the general point is that wrestlers everywhere, whether you wrestle pro, whether you wrestle in the backyard, the underground, you wrestle on the trampoline, the ground, wherever you wrestle. Yes, wrestling, there is a very short lifespan. Yes, and that's a great point. I got to go because I'm going out Candles by the Light. Oh, yes, and going from Wrestling Zero. Yes, tell everybody there I said hello. I'll see you on TV soon again at Wrestling Zero. Thank you, Rob Ryan, and we appreciate you. Okay, so that was Rob. Anything else you want to share, Ray? Because I was waiting for Rob Maraska to give us the Met report. I'm wondering where is Rob Maraska? I'm waiting. I mean, John Gonzalez is going to go into the Hall of Fame. I think if Rob doesn't show, I'll let you hang out here with it. But anything else you want to say, Randy? Anything else?
We'll keep the topic on hockey there. Like
Yeah, I mean, I could talk about hockey for a minute or two. I mean, did one of these teams break? I mean, you talked about Pittsburgh, you talked about the Islanders, you got Columbus, Ottawa, Buffalo loses to the Rangers. I mean, eventually one of these teams is going to hit the bottom, though, right?
I think Boston might be that team. They are in a derail right now. Like, they are struggling mightily after even making the coaching change to get rid of who was it? Oh god, I can't remember his name. It's on the
They did it last. That was about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, 3 weeks ago. Yeah, Jim Montgomery. They made the change, and Joe Sacco's done a decent job, but they're still struggling in the Atlantic. You have Toronto and Florida, but that third spot, Tampa, Buffalo's in it. They're all kind of in the race there. So,
and then New Jersey's obviously played strong. You got Carolina, and then. It's it's a free for all on all these teams. But I mean, and also Zilla, where is Rob Morozka? That's a great question because Rob Morozka is supposed to have a contest tonight. His cousin is here. I mean, so where is Rob Morozka? That is a great question.
Hey, Randy, I got a question. Why do you think the Rangers are playing as bad as they are, especially after last season, President's Trophy, all that stuff? They basically got the same team, coaching staff. Like, what changed? Why are they so bad?
Chris, I was actually thinking about this. I think this is going farther, deeper than we know. Because I think when they fired Gerard Gallant 2 years ago, I think that was more of a microcosm for the issue. Like, I think it was like they thought, okay, there's a problem here. Gallant's not the guy. But you just look at how the Rangers now are struggling. They brought in a new coach in Peter Laviolette. They made some changes. They get a guy like Vincent Trocheck to come help out. They get rid of some spaces, but something's not clicking for this team.
Do you think it's also Rob Morozka has finally arrived, and Rob Morozka, who's the guy?
Grim Reaper is.
Well, I mean, I would talk football, but I gotta talk Mets because Rob Morozka is the Met guy, and it's the greatest time to be talking Mets. I mean, but I guess. Well, guys like Rob, this is their World Series. I mean, this is their series. I mean, Rob I heard it with his Anthony Savino from Brooklyn, where he was, and it was like talking like, this was, I could tell it was a guy like that was probably like a guy you talked to on the street corner about the game. No, it was great. It was a great podcast. But no, I mean, maybe it's the Rangers also. It's the hangover, best record last year, and you go and lose in the conference finals. And sometimes it's hard to come back from it. Look at the 49ers in football. 49ers have had some injuries. Yeah. And they're going to be on the outside looking at. Sometimes it's you get that close. It's hard to, get back to the mountain.
It's the same core, though. I would say if this is the third year now. 2 years ago, they went to the conference final. They got how they broke down against Jersey a few years ago was embarrassing. Last year, they actually played good. Florida just played better. Like, even look at the whole Igor Shesterkin situation. The fact is, he came out and said he wanted to be paid. And the Rangers kind of just handcuffed the Rangers where they couldn't really kind of keep that on the download. You look at the comment by Peter Laviolette calling out Jacob Trouba, but a guy like Chris Kreider, who's been kind of part of the Rangers for so many years, where I think there's a bigger problem. I think it all the way goes back to that whole Tom Wilson Panarin incident where people said the Rangers weren't ready. They kind of jumped the gun. They bring guys like Barclay Goodrow in, trade them other pieces, bring guys like Ryan Reeves, and now they're kind of paying for it because they didn't have all the pieces. They tried to clog the holes, and now the water's coming in.
All right, let me get to a couple of comments because I'm going to let you hang out, Randy, because there's something special we're going to do here in a few minutes. But let me get to a few things here. Rob Morozka is here. He wouldn't miss this for the world to talk about the Mets. Keep in mind, when you reach Rob's age, you need those midday naps.
Isn't it like 11 o'clock in New York though? That it was
11:25, yeah.
Or early evening ones,
That's like that's like the people that have dinner at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, like the old.
Sometimes I do. I have to say, sometimes it happens.
That's like my first meal of the day, like 4 o'clock dinner. Was like I mean, not quite. I mean, it's like actually no. I don't. I think it's my first. If you really think about my meal. Like it's probably like 6-7 o'clock, but 4 o'clock for me is like
lunch?
The morning time. Yeah, not really, but it's but everybody's different. Rob's heart had to take a minute to recover after hearing how much money the Mets just dropped on Soto. Well, and it wasn't monopoly money either. It was just somebody. It was somebody else's
money.
Yeah, it was a lot of money, but definitely a lot of money was dropping, and in baseball here. But obviously, we'll have to see some of that there. But really, um, I think I'm going to get ready to do it here. We'll let Randy hang out a minute for it because he's a fellow Hall of Famer, and I see some other people. But obviously, one of the things we announced today, which it might be in part to why we do have some people watching this, is that we're a part. Some of us here are moderators for a group called the Sports Authorities, and the Sports Authorities is a big group on Facebook. It's got a number of athletes, pro athletes. It's got a number of other people that have been here on the platform, and it's got several thousand members in it. And one of the biggest supporters of Sportswire Radio, really over the years, I think about my 6 years almost, and for about half of that time has been a man, John Gonzalez. John has been really one of the guys that's always pushing the show throughout the years, whether we were on Facebook, whether it was on YouTube here, and Rob and Chris know him very well. Randy a little bit does, but John Gonzalez has really been one of those consistent supporters, always giving advice. His Facebook page has really been one of those places. If you want to share anything, if you want to just put your links out there, whatever it is, he's really built a positive community. It's got close to 5,000 members, literally almost 5,000 members. And John has just been one of those guys that's really been a part of everything with Sportswire Radio over the years. All the success that we've had, closing in on 1,400 subscribers and 2,500 followers on Facebook. John has been one of those guys who's always believed in the show. He's always believed in just everything we've built here over the years. And I think that it's a great time to finally, I know John has been kind of wanting this here for about at least 6 or 7 months. And I hope he should take solace in the fact, or maybe he won't take solace in the fact that he is going to get in this little thing called the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame before a guy that used to be here, the brute force Brad Weiss, who for whatever reason, was a big part of this platform and, a lot of it throughout the years, should really have his place in the Hall of Fame. But he has pretty much exit staged and left, and he leveled down rather than leveling it up. But it's not about that. We appreciate the brute force and all his sacrifices and support and his efforts here over the years. But John Gonzalez really is the man that has been responsible for a lot of the success of Sportswire. We talk about some of the recent people that have been here over the years. I think about the 5 Towns Athletics program, and I think about what they've brought to the table the last week. Arv the Fox Mittu, the first Black British boxer to have fought 100 times, was here less than 2 weeks ago. We've got, obviously, the regular Friday shows. We've got, obviously, Ernest Dove, reporter for the New York Mets, an affiliate out there in the minor leagues, coming back here. He'll probably give us some more educated answers rather than Anthony Savino's educated, or supposedly half-educated answers there. But John Gonzalez has been one of those constants. We've certainly, I think, really been born into the All Wrestling Matters movement and backyard, underground, British, and all that stuff. But John has really been that constant. He's been one of those guys that has been a supporter through thick and thin. And that's why it's, really going to be my great pleasure in a minute to announce him as the newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. But really, John should be in a sports Hall of Fame because of everything that John has done for the sports community. He's done a lot of great work with his group, the Sports Authorities. If you want to see professional athletes, if you want to see regular guys posting about different stories, different things, it's just a place, it's a positive safe haven where so many people have gotten a chance to network and gotten a chance to make friendships, build relationships. Obviously, I look at my own platform and the countless wrestlers I've seen there, the countless college coaches, the countless other athletes are in the Sports Authorities group. And I think that that's what John's testament to his leadership, building a platform. I know it firsthand. I've done this through the ground up. John has done it with his group. He's got just some great people that are involved in it. And he's a man that's been selfless. He's been tireless, and he sacrificed a lot of his life to support other people. I think about the countless podcasters that Sal Angelotti, Keith Engel, other podcasters that post their links and their shows on his page. But he took a liking, I would like to think, with this platform because of just, I think, the personality and what I think are very similar to what the Sports Authorities has to offer. And really, John is a great man outside the community. He's a veteran. He has served our country. He has also been a man that has made sure our favorite stadiums are safe and our favorite shows and concerts like in MetLife Stadium. And, John's a leader. And John is somebody that I can't say enough that has been one of the biggest supporters of Sportswire Radio. And that's why I want to formally congratulate him. I want to give him the opportunity to see it here now that he is the 96th member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. And congratulations, John Gonzalez. Thank you for all that you've done here. I think in the sports community, whether it's been connecting people from wrestling or pro sports or different podcasters or just different people to give an opportunity. I see guys like Joey Bostrom posting in the Sports Authorities group. Chris Bizarre, Anthony Finkel posts like, how many times do I see like a bikini girl posted? And I mean, I'm happy that John allows it. I'm sure that most of the other members are happy about it. But Anthony Finkel definitely, knows to make sure to raise the temperature up a little bit. But no, we love it. It's great. John gives everybody an opportunity. But really, thank you, John, for all you've done for our community. Thank you for building, I think, a great outlet, and certainly the Sports Authorities, which you can check out on Facebook, the Sports Authorities. And John, I will send this to you after the show. We'll definitely get into the sports talk in a few minutes. But I just wanted to say thank you, John, and it's long overdue. I know people complain to me all the time, who's next, who's going to get in? Some other people have said in the past, well, there's too many people in. Well, you know what? There's never going to be too many people because there's never going to be enough people to get in there because it's always about recognizing the people. It's doing the people's work. John Gonzalez has done the people's work, ladies and gentlemen. I'm always reminded by one of my former employers in the world of politics, and he always said you had to feel the community. You had to feel the community. You had to walk the streets. You had to walk the beat. You had to know everybody. You had to know what's on their mind. There was another famous congressman who's no longer with us, Guy Molinari, and Guy Molinari's famous words were always, if you don't have a base, you got nothing. And John has always made sure we've had a base here on Sportswire Radio. And thank you, John, for your support. Congratulations. And the Sports Authorities group is on Facebook. And I hope that if you are here on Facebook, you're not in the group, join it. I'll send you an invite. But, John, I hope you're watching this. In fact, I know you are. As for Brad Weiss watching it, well, if Brad Weiss is watching it, I mean, Brad Weiss, you certainly have some explaining to do. But, you definitely you definitely got some explaining to do. But definitely, I'll leave that for another time. But, definitely Fink is awesome. Fink is, another guy that's got to get in here, get into the Hall of Fame. He's going to show up on the stream one of these days. But definitely, everybody up. I see all the guys. I see Joey Bostrom is a part of the Sports Authorities group. I know Rob Maraska's in there. Chris is always posting. I see Justin Gianelli. Where is Justin Gianelli, by the way? Where is Justin? You would think he'd want to talk about the Mets tonight, but that's okay. But so many of our presenters, I see even some of my wrestling people. Godric Sandwell, who was here Wednesday, he was posting in the group. I saw Jake Dvorak posting in the Sports Authorities group. I see a lot of my friends and familiar faces. So thank you, John, for your support. I thank you. My buddy Osiris, I see in the Sports Authorities group, the legendary ESW wrestler. So many great people. And for you, John, definitely we are sports family. We're all family. We're all a community. And, well, I mean, he's kind of, I think, our own nemesis here on Sportswire because, like, he walked off the platform. Like, he walked off. I mean, not to, like, make this about Brad, but, I mean, he was given a platform, and I just don't understand why he just didn't tell us why he was leaving. I mean, he's practically get a job from coaching through the platform. But I wish we love Brad. We wish him well. But definitely great connecting. Thank you, John. Congratulations. And we look forward to the future. The best is yet to come. Shout out to the Brute Force. Definitely shout out to you, though. Much love. Nothing but, respect. But obviously, I think I said my piece. And yes, thank you very much for that. We love you very much. New subscriber. I appreciate you. And we're going to talk about that. Go Braves. We're going to talk about baseball in a minute. I'm going to get there. Okay, so we'll take this off the screen. I think, Randy, we are going to transition to non-wrestling and hockey. Wanted you to be here for this. You're a part of the team, part of the family, and really enjoyed the Hockey Fan Talk. Congratulations on the success of what you've been doing for us. And I'll probably see you at some point here next Friday night.
Sounds good, Tom. Always a pleasure, guys. Take care. Congratulations, John.
Take care.
Thank you very much. That was Randy Dillon. I'm going to take this off because I Rob Moroska's big face in front of me. I got to slow it back up here. But obviously, good to see everybody. We'll see if Tilly wants to come on. Maybe I'll give him the link. But this is the moment that you've both of you guys have been waiting for. But you know what? Originally, if I would have said 5 days ago, I would have said, boy, Yankee fans doom and gloom. Met fans are celebrating up and down. But seems to me like the Yankees had a plan B, and they've done pretty well for themselves so far. And I'm going to go next to Chris Bazaya from the New York MLB Talk and the Liftoff Jets. And what was this week like for you, especially as a Yankees fan? Certainly you were down, but now I think you're pretty up right now, right? So talk to me about some of these moves and how you're feeling.
Yeah, you know what? Losing Soto to the Mets, I mean, the Mets gave the best offer, so I think he kind of gave us enough preparedness to prepare that he was going to take the highest bidder, and he did. So he went, but thankfully the Yankees pivoted right away. They signed Max Fried. They traded for Devin Williams, the closer for the Brewers, and really didn't give up much for him. So I think they got lucky in that sense. So I'm pretty excited, and to see what's next. I mean, you know, they were in on Tucker before he was traded to the Cubs. I didn't think the Astros were going to work a deal with us, especially for their best player or one of their best players. So I thought that was a long shot to begin with. But maybe they could work something out with the Cubs for Bellinger. If not, they got to go into.
I was reading that in the newspaper. It's such a thing still. But overall, Fried and Williams for Soto, are the Yankees a better baseball team than, let's say, Sunday night right now? If you were to say from your vantage point,
not yet, because I mean they improved their pitching staff without a doubt,
Mm-hmm.
but. They still got holes at first. They still got holes in left field and either second base or third base. So they still got holes to fill. And I'm sure it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. They're working out whatever they're working out. There was a lot of talk about Bregman today, possibly with the Yankees, linked with him.
And the Cubs got Kyle Tucker, I saw.
Yeah, Kyle Tucker, but he was traded to the Cubs.
That's what I'm saying. As I said, he went to the Cubs. It's exactly.
Yeah, they were in on him. I mean, it would be. Listen, he's going to be a free agent after this year, so maybe the Yankees will, get like a bridge for left field and then sign him next offseason. You never know. But
how do you feel about the 200 and was it 16 million for Fried? How do you feel about the 8 years? How do you feel?
8 years. That's a little long. I have to admit. He's going to be 31. But you know what? He's not a hard thrower. So you kind of hope that he could be this finesse pitcher, longer into his career. He's supposed to be a pitching savant like, Garrett Cole is, and very intelligent pitcher and all this. So, maybe changing teams now that he signed his contract, maybe he's not going to be as careful with these injuries that he's had over the last couple of years. He's had forearm issues. Maybe he's going to push through some of those now that he's got the contract, guaranteed money now for 8 years. So we'll see. I mean, listen, 8 years is not great for a 31-year-old pitcher, obviously. But
no, I think it's pitchers as a whole. 8 years is really rare. Yeah. So 1, 2, 3. Do the Yankees have the best top of the rotation in the American League right now, or how do you feel about that? I know, Rob, I'm going to get to you, Rob. Don't you worry. I'm going to get to you. But I mean,
right. The Yankees, it's definitely one of the best. If not, I don't want to say it's the best because it's still early in the off season. So, but I mean, I think it's one of the best for sure. Okay. To call it the best, that's probably pushing it a little bit because think about it. If Texas figures out, if Jacob deGrom comes out healthy. We know, you guys being Met fans, I've seen him pitch. He's one of the best.
Yeah, I mean, Jacob deGrom, that's the big,
right.
several $1 million question. If he's healthy, I mean, he's had unbelievable stretches, but that's in a while from now. I mean, Jacob deGrom hasn't really been healthy in a while. No. I mean, that's a big if. But I think your rotation, right, of Rodon, Cortez.
I'll go with it against any team. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's the best, but it's definitely one of the best.
As a bonus, Corbin Burns, like, what do you think happens there with that? I mean, I would think Baltimore, I kind of was hearing their general manager basically say that he wasn't coming back. He was like sort of almost dismissing it. You got Santander as a free agent. You got Burns. I know they made some signings, but what do you think happens there as a side?
Listen, and they got a new owner, right? And he supposedly has deep pockets like Cohen does. And we haven't seen him really go big yet on a free agent. And
Harry Sanchez, 1 year, right?
Yeah, that's more depth, because they got a young catcher coming up that's supposed to be, a top prospect. So you're probably going to see him as well up at some point this year. But yeah, I think, and they need an ace, right? I mean, that's what they're missing right now. If they don't bring Burns back, you're and
the Red Sox got Garrett Crochet, and
that was huge, and that's what they needed. They needed that ace, right? Because they have a solid rotation, and now you put that ace up there, and you know what? And the Orioles need to do something now, right? Because now
even the Blue Jays made a little bit of a move. Andres Jimenez comes. I mean, I know it's a middle of the road move, but they did something. I mean,
they did something. I don't know if it's going to be much. I'm more impressed by Tampa if they come back with all their pitching that was hurt last year, right?
Yeah.
You're going to get McClanahan back, and Springs is going to come back, so that's going to be a good pitching staff right there. I don't know what they're going to do playing in the Yankees Tampa Stadium, but listen, they're still going to be good with their pitching. Toronto,
and they still won 80 games anyway last year. Team won 80 games despite all those things.
Tampa figures it out.
Tampa might have the best overall baseball operation.
But Toronto's got to figure something out, right? Because they got Vladdy as a free agent next year and Bichette.
Yeah.
So what are they going to do? Are they going to trade these guys? Are they going to sign them to extensions?
I think Toronto and Baltimore in some ways are in the same position. I think Toronto's where Baltimore was like 2 years ago. Baltimore's had a couple of playoff appearances, nothing to show for it. And you've made some moves. You've tried to win, but you've still got some decisions. I mean, young guys are coming up, so it's kind of a make or break moment. I mean, Toronto tried. I mean, for all intents and purposes, they were willing to spend the money on Soto. They've tried to spend on Ohtani. You guys were talking about it. Toronto has just unfortunately come empty-handed here with getting the big name, so they settle. Andres Jimenez is, nice player.
Help him like you said, nice player, but he's not gonna.
No, it's not the.
He's not putting you over the top or anything,
No.
Baltimore's still probably the better team out of all the ones that we've said. Outside of the Yankees, it's Baltimore, probably Boston. Maybe Boston leapfrogged them right now. I don't know.
I mean, I think it's all competitive. Let me get to a couple things before I get to Rob Maraska. Ron Franklin is in the house. How you doing, Ron? Ron is in the house also. Yep, thank you for that. Zilla, it's the Sports Authorities group on Facebook. Don't know if you're on Facebook. John has a group with like 5,000 members in it, and it's just a whole list of great people in there. Salute John Gonzalez. Yep, we love John. Go Braves. I don't know if Tilly's going to get on the stream. I might bring him on if he wants to talk baseball, because I got about at least 15 minutes on baseball. We'll see. But Rob Maraska, I know this is what you've been waiting for. Mets and make a move that was obviously generational. And if it was the off season, the Mets have won the World Series, but we've obviously got to get to a regular season. But the Mets have certainly made their move. Last week we were talking about, is this Met team really, are they done? Are they going to make more moves? And boy, did they make the move. And they kind of came in at the last minute. It seemed like, from what you guys were saying, and most people, for all intents and purposes, the Yankees were still favored to get Soto. But Rob Maraska, for those that are listening and watching, you're in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the platform where all sports matters, Sportzwire Radio. Did it come down to a luxury suite for Juan Soto to become a New York Met?
Who knows? Luxury suite, family. I don't know. I think a lot of it had to do, well, of course it was the money. Let's face it. We knew that. We've been talking about that. And it was the money. He was going to go for the most money. But also, I think between the Mets and the Yankees, whatever the Mets said, whatever they did, because Steve Cohen brought out like his 90-year-old father-in-law, his son, the clubhouse manager, he brought everybody out there to talk to Soto. And I guess also He talked about the future and then he's going to spend money. And he put his money where his mouth is. He is not going to be outbid for a player that he wants.
Well, he's responsible. His portfolio is a significant percentage of New York City's, and he's worth a lot more than even what the Steinbrenner family is. But it's fascinating that the Yankees were still the front runners. But if it's true, luxury suites and even security, and that was the deciding factor. If that's the case, no,
it was money. It was money.
Okay, no, you know what? I'm just asking, because I know nothing about this stuff, and I'm wondering, did it really come down to that, or did Juan Soto think that the New York Mets had a better path to winning the World Series? Because he was just on a team that went to the World Series. So I thought naturally, I always go back to my, my political experiences. Well, if it's the incumbent has the lead. You go with the incumbent, and the Yankees were the incumbent here. They went to the World Series. They were 3 games away from winning the World Series. So to me, the Mets have a better path than the Yankees.
There's a smoother road or an easier road to get to the World Series in the American League than it is the National League. National League, you got to
that's why I'm
deal with the Dodgers for the next whatever years.
I'm just trying to understand this because you got the Dodgers. Giants are still trying hard to make moves.
Well, look at the 2 offers, and you'll understand exactly why he signed with the Mets over the Yankees, right? So the Yankees offered him 16 years at about the same amount of money as the Mets did over 15 years.
And he's got now, I want to ask you guys.
What's the better offer?
And the signing bonus.
I even got a different point on that. Are we going to see Juan Soto again as a free agent? Because he's got an opt-out after 5 years. So is this really a 15-year deal or is it a 5-year deal?
But remember, that is in the power is actually in the Mets' hands for that. Because they offered him, the $5 million more a year, then the opt-out is gone. So it's actually in the Mets' hands. So
but what if Juan Soto, for whatever reason, doesn't quite have the seasons that he's had this year, and then the Mets don't want to pay him that money?
Yeah, then if he tries to void out, then if you're the Mets, he's like, well, if he sucks for 5 years, you move on. But if he's Juan Soto, and if he wants to opt out,
and I'm not advocating for Juan Soto to play poorly, but I mean, theoretically, we could do this again, is what I'm just saying.
It's possible. But I don't think it's going to happen.
And he could get more money because...
Well, he's going to get more money if he opts out, right? They add more money to each year. It's like $4 million a year. He's going to get,
What if somebody wanted to offer him $60 million? I don't know. I'm just trying to think.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Because the Mets say nope. You're not voiding out.
The Mets have control. Mets have the control of that. So, we'll have to see 15 years, $765 million, but the signing bonus was $75 million. I mean, think about all this money. No deferred money. All right, the suite, and he also gets 4 tickets, whatever they call those tickets, the luxury tickets. Plus the suite. It's amazing. This deal is just amazing.
Well, they were saying that the Yankees didn't offer that to Judge. They didn't offer it to Garrett Cole. They didn't offer it to Jeter. Right. And I mean, if it came down to that, why couldn't they just give him the suite?
I don't think it came down to that, though.
You don't?
I don't either. I mean, with making that much money, you could afford a suite if you really want to, have a suite for a year.
But if Cone sweet talked enough and somebody said, I'm going to give you this and I'm not getting it there. I mean,
exactly.
My point is, the number one reason was the offers.
Yeah. I think Cone definitely has the better retail politicking than the Yankees do because he's a New York real estate developer. So for those that don't know, as a New York real estate developer or a businessman, you are dealing with a lot of your local politicians at the city and state level. So Steve Cone knows how to talk to, I can tell you this firsthand, he knows how to talk to a city council member or a state senator who have been maybe not as supportive of his projects. So he understands how to network or real
And he also
retail.
knows how to outbid somebody.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a big part of it, but I do think that
That's what it
personal
comes down to.
connections. Yes, but I do think that retail campaigning does mean in these situations because okay, 50 million more. All right, I get it, but I just think I look at Cashman, I look at was it
I see
Hank
what you're saying, and it probably is. But you know what? At the end of the day,
and
if the
Cohen's
Yankees
there at all
offered,
those games. He's on social media. His daughter's visible. The wife's visible. The father's
Right.
visible. And you look at Steinbrenner. It's not George. George would have been yelling and just wouldn't happen with George. But with the new Steinbrenners, yeah, I'm sure
it's
they're
very
into it.
businesslike, and I get it. But you know
Yeah,
what?
and
If the
Cohen-
Yankees offered $35 million more than the Mets, he would be a Yankee, right?
Oh, I'm just trying to understand. I'm just trying to think. To me, Steve Cohen, I know the kind of people he's talking to. I know his abilities
I
from a
hear what you're saying.
standpoint where it might play a factor. It just might.
Listen, let's turn the clock back a couple of weeks, right?
Okay.
Game 5, World Series, Yankees lose.
Yep.
All you do is you see Soto sitting on the bench by himself. No
Yes.
player, no teammate sitting next to him, right?
Yep.
A few minutes later, post-game interview, he's got the hat backwards, so you don't even see the NY now, and he's in free agent mode already. And he told you right off the bat, nobody's got an advantage here, because they asked him, did the Yankees have an advantage? He goes, no team has an advantage.
So I guess then it was more of an advantage with Judge because even though they were talking about Judges going here, Judges going there, with Soto, there was really none of that from what you're telling me.
Yeah, with Judge, you got to remember, the Yankees drafted him. This is the only team he played for, right?
Yeah.
So there was loyalty there. With Soto, there's no loyalty.
Gun. Yeah.
He's already on his 4th team, and he's 26 years old. He's
And
got no
hired gun.
loyalty to anybody. His loyalty
Chris,
is the money.
You know something, and we were talking about this. I cannot believe on social media how many Yankee fans are still crying about this, and they're still saying,
Bobby, Bobby Tats, they got thousands of views, God bless them. But they were, Donald Stewart, Rob Barros, and Bobby Tats were like, certainly, they were whining a little bit about it. The Yankee fan is going to whine about it in one sense, not to defend or not defend, but the Yankee fan ain't used to the guy like Soto going to the Mets. That's
no, I know
a part of it.
But what I'm trying to bring up is they were saying he wasn't being loyal to the Yankees. Me and Chris were talking about this. Why?
Well, I think 90% of athletes are not loyal to the team. This is not 1971.
Judge is the outliner. To be honest.
Yeah, I think if you look at sports nowadays, there are very few people that play. You're not getting your Mike Trouts. You're not getting your Clayton Kershaws this generation. You're not getting those once in a while, Dustin Pedroia, Buster Posey, Judge.
Maybe Alonso would do that with the Mets, right? Like maybe if he got a higher offer with Pittsburgh or something.
What happens with Alonso then? Is Alonso coming back, or where is that now for the Mets?
No offers yet for him.
No offers yet, like Chris said, and I think the Mets are going to work on it now. That's what I think is going to happen. The Mets are going to talk to him.
I would have to think that Soto's coming here knowing that Alonso is coming back, right? because isn't that a part of the
I think so.
He knows something's going to happen. He knows they're going to make more moves, and the Mets. I'm confident the Mets are going to bring Alonso back. Steve Cohen said he wants him back. David Stern says he wants him back. So I think they'll make a deal.
Let me get to some comments. John Gonzalez wants to go to Canton next. Well, you're in Sportswire Hall of Fame. Let's go one at a time. Yankees need to get Bellinger and Bregman.
That would be nice. I'm not a big Bregman guy because he's already he's going to be 31 next year.
Yeah,
he's going to want over $200 million. At this point, I was saying he's now. He's going
to get. Willie Adames got almost $200 million.
Yeah, Yankees could easily sign Christian Walker to play first. They could sign Profar to play left field, and they'll be set. I
think you were talking. I think Bobby's show was talking about that. His name came up a couple of different places. It's a good name. That's a good name. That's a name that's good. Let's get to some more from John. Tucker is a rental. Oh, there we go. Not worth giving up on Heel. Cubs gave up a lot to get him. Well, the Cubs are trying to win. The Cubs got a new manager. The Cubs are desperately trying to
and the
win.
Yankees did that last year with Soto, and look what happened. We lost Michael King. We lost Drew Thorpe. So,
I guess from the Cubs standpoint, look at your division. You could definitely win in that. Milwaukee now, forget about Milwaukee. Milwaukee, right, they've said, you know what? We've been getting to the playoffs, but we ain't getting far. So now we're in rebuild. We're going for the prospects.
St. Louis is going to start selling off pieces too. I think.
Well, to be honest, about Arenado, right? I mean, I've heard Arenado's name come up. I mean, Pittsburgh's not a spender. So to me, there's a definite path for the Cubs to really go out there and maybe win.
I think Pittsburgh, with their pitching, if they added a couple of bats, they would be, up there to win the division. So that division's wide open. So I like what the Cubs did. And they gave up one really good prospect. The other guys are like spare parts to me. Yeah. Paredes is not great. Wisniewski, the pitcher, he's not that good. He's a former Yankee.
And then, you have Cincinnati with Francona. I was listening to Francona.
He's going to be good.
So if you're the Cubs, I mean, this is your year to make the move. Why not? Let me go to John. Look, Soto wasn't the main man on the Yankees. It's Judge. Right. Soto has a big ego. All right. A good point. All right. I don't disagree.
That was part of my reasonings too.
Well, Mets currently don't have the rotation to compete with the Dodgers, Philadelphia,
and
the Braves.
True.
Okay. Right. But the Braves lost Fried. What do they do from there?
Right. Exactly. Fried, Charlie Morton's still out there too. He was on them. So
and the Dodgers though, I mean, they got everybody. I mean,
they got like 20 starters, so they're good with pitching.
I was listening to that, and they were saying, well, we could just have Blake Snell pitch 3 innings. I think Roberts was saying, we could just take his time. And Ohtani, I even heard they could not even bring him back to pitch as a starter until May or June if they want to.
Yeah,
I mean, where
they could take their time for sure.
Alonso will be back with the Mets. That's what John thinks.
I think the chances are, especially that we haven't heard anything about Alonso being, courted by any other team. I mean, what's his price tag?
Because he's a low batting average guy, strikes out a lot. You're really just getting a guy who hits 40-plus home runs. When I hear more about Santander than I hear about Alonso. I mean, I hear more about other guys. Maybe is it because Alonso is just a quintessential feast or famine guy, and that the new age doesn't look at him in the same way as they would have.
And it could be that he had, his walk year wasn't the greatest, but you know what? I want him back on the Mets, so we'll see what happens. I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. I agree with John.
I think if Alonso does come back to the Mets, that's going to be all Cohen. Because I don't think he's a Stearns player. I don't see Stearns signing Alonso to like a 7-year or 6-year, whatever amount of 150, 160. Yeah. I don't know. That doesn't seem like Stearns' move. Like he does these short deals. Obviously not Soto, but these other guys like the pitching. He's trying to catch lightning in a bottle. I don't know if that's the best strategy, but
it's not. That's not. Well, I don't want to see that. I want
to find out. Let me say hello to one of my buddies who I know was tuned in yesterday, Mr. Edward Washington. I spoke about Edward quite a bit with Coach Jason Facina, the athletics director of the 5 Towns Sound Athletics program. He's the head coach of the men's soccer team. If you'd like to give the guys a follow, that's their YouTube channel. Let's get him some more subscribers. Edward is tuned in, and will Edward be on Sportswire? Who knows? But there's his page. He'd like to say hello. I hope you're enjoying the evening. I hope you're enjoying the talk. Thank you for your support. And there's the FTC Soccer Program's YouTube channel. Let me come back to John. Polar Bear is a fan favorite, especially after the home run off Williams in the playoffs. Is that the reason that he comes back, that home run? That's the only reason Alonso comes back?
That's not the only reason. That might be one of the reasons why the Yankees were able to get Williams, though.
Right.
But don't you think though that Milwaukee though seems to be in rebuild mood? Adames they don't sign.
Right.
They trade Williams. Corbin Burns was last year. So really Milwaukee though, it's a team that's been competitive. They've gone to the postseason pretty much for the better part of the last half a decade, but have almost little to nothing to show for it. So now they've decided Let's take all our chips and let's get some young players in. I think it certainly doesn't send a good signal to their fan base. They've got a pretty solid fan base, but
It's true.
They pretty much waved the white flag.
Just think that's the damage that Alonso's home run did. It sent them into rebuilding mode.
Well, let me conversely ask you, if Pete Alonso doesn't hit that home run, is Juan Soto a New York Met?
I think if the offer was there, he would have signed it.
I just don't know that.
He
might have looked at it and said, you know what, Mets were 2 games away from the World Series. If they don't, Mets, had a little cup of coffee in the playoffs, and
I think he's still a Met.
He's still a Met. Okay.
Yeah.
Still a Met.
Yeah.
Nothing changes your mind on that.
Better offer. That's what it comes down to.
It's another thing that you said. You're right. Right after the World Series, turned the hat backwards, and then he did not speak to any of his Yankee teammates since that last game of the World Series.
Maybe he didn't value them much.
It was reported that he got a new phone, but that means obviously that means the teammates couldn't text him, but he should have or he could have reached out to them. Yeah. But like you said, maybe he didn't like them or they didn't like him. I don't know. It's possible,
Yeah, or maybe it's like you said on the Yankees. He's always going to be second fiddle to Judge. On the Mets, that's not going to happen. Even with Lindor there, that's not going to happen. He's the man.
Well, what do you think about that dynamic of Lindor and Soto?
I think they're going to be fine. Lindor's the type of player and the type of guy where there's not going to be any problem.
And is Lindor the leader? Let's say you don't bring Alonso back. Who's the leader for the Mets?
Well,
who's the leader?
The face of the Mets now is Juan Soto.
And does that make him the leader of the team?
Is Lindor the captain, or is there a captain?
No, there's no captain right now.
Oh, okay.
Wait, wait.
Alonso, right?
Is Alonso is captain? What am I talking about? But now, there's no captain.
If he doesn't come back. I mean, if Alonso comes back, I think he's your homegrown guy. He's going to be all intensive purposes your leader. But if he doesn't come back, where does it go from here?
Well, if they pick a captain, the Mets don't always pick captains.
But your presumed is Juan Soto like your leader of the team? Like if you look at him, or is it Lindor because he's got the contract first?
He might be an AB type of thing. I think they're both,
That's what I think too.
Lindor and Soto.
It's like Carter and Hernandez were, they were co-captains, Carter and Hernandez.
Okay.
In the
all right. Interesting line.
It could be like that.
Interesting line. Okay, let me get to a couple comments here. We've got a lot of people still hanging out with us. Mets were interested in Crochet, but Mets wouldn't part with Jet Williams and Brandon Spratt.
Right. Yep.
Listen, that was a risky move. If they do move him, Bud getting Crochet, I think he's got 2 years of control, right? But is he gonna push hard for an extension? Maybe that's why the Mets didn't want to trade for him. I don't know.
Yeah, is he going to want to test free agency after that? I don't know. You're right. So they definitely
the Mets need that one more big pitcher, I think.
Yeah, they definitely.
And who is that pitcher for the Mets?
Could it be Corbin Burns? Would they? I don't know if they're going to sign him though.
I don't know, but they have a plan. I mean, they had to talk to Soto about this plan because he's convinced that they're going to win.
That's a lot of money, though. If you I would think Corbin Burns, right, is a lot of money, right? I mean, would that be more money than Alonso?
Yeah.
So that's a lot of money you're putting in there, Soto and
the money's no object.
The money that came off of the contract, first of all, of Scherzer and Verlander, they got all that money back. But also, do you know that Cohen sold 2 of the Mets minor league teams right after he signed Soto?
Wow.
He sold the Brooklyn Cyclones and he sold, I think, Syracuse.
May I ask who bought them and for how much?
There's a baseball group that owns the Rumble Ponies, and also they own other minor league teams.
I'm surprised he sold Brooklyn. Wow,
they're going to stay in the Mets. They're going to stay in the Mets system, but they're just owned by this baseball group now. So
if he
it
was
made-
so rich, then why did he sell those teams? Was he trying to? Did he need money to come up with to pay the salary?
I don't think he needed money. I just think it's probably.
I don't think so.
It's just a baseball, a smart move. Now he doesn't have to worry about running them. He has this baseball group that's going to handle it. And like I said, the Rumble Ponies, they already own the Rumble Ponies, and they own other minor league teams for other major league teams. So
does he not own any of the minor league teams then now? We have Syracuse, right? Binghamton, and Brooklyn.
I think St. Lucie Mets. I didn't hear anything about St. Lucie, but Ernest would know.
I think Ernest Stubbs supposed to be here Monday, although I know I'm going to be a little late, so we'll see about that. Ernest is speaking of early dinner specials, or that's Ernest Stubbs time-wise, but we'll come back to that. Jet Williams is a future star, but where do you put him? Center field or second base? Center field?
And probably center field because we got the guy from what's his name? Why am I going blind, Chris? Siri.
You used to be in a
series in center, and then you still got Acuna coming up, and you got Mauricio still for the infield. So
can't wait to see him.
Jet Williams would be a center fielder. I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Let me get to Joe Dell. Soto and Lindor would be like having Eric Clapton and Jack Bruce in the same band. Yeah. Now, if that was for the backyard crowd, they'd be like, "Who are you talking about?" But you're okay because you're like, there are some people here that'll probably get it. But I guess you could say that. You could say it's definitely a big thing to have Soto and Lindor together. I think you'd want to still have. Let me ask you this, though, with the Mets. We're here with Chris Bizaya and Rob Maraska. They're the host of the New York MLB Talk, which you can hear via the Listen Live button on sportswireradio.org. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. You have voice figuratively and literally all wrestling matters. If the Mets don't get Alonso, what's the backup plan then? They don't bring him back. What's the backup plan?
Vientos to first, I think.
And they're not bringing anybody else in offense. They're not signing – a Carlos Santana type. What's that?
What about Bregman for third and Vientos at first? That's a good move.
So would Bregman be an upgrade for you rather than Alonso?
Well, no, I want defensively.
Well, I don't know because now you're moving Vientos to first. How much of an improvement of Vientos is over Alonso?
That's what we have to see, but. I still think that the Mets are going to resign Alonso. So until
the Yankees had a plan B. You could see that the Yankees did have a plan B. They got a big chip in Max Fried. They just made a trade for a closer. They needed bullpen help dearly. They got that. You re-signed Jonathan Loaiza. You're still going to probably make another move or two. So the Yankees had a plan B. If the Mets lose Alonso for whatever reason, there would still have to be some type of plan B.
Yeah, they definitely have a plan B. Cohen and Stark, they know what they're going to do.
Well, this is their plan A, right?
Yeah.
Soto is plan A for them, right? Yeah. So they're still on plan A.
Okay, but I'm just saying, Alonso's not moved. Everybody was like, you guys were like, Soto moves, then Alonso moves. But Alonso hasn't moved.
No, I'm surprised, and nobody's talking about him either. Other players have guys connected to him.
Maybe it's just the value of a guy who's just he's only for one. I'm just trying to think in this new hyper analytics market driven data that maybe he's not as big a fish as other names.
Oh yeah, he's only a 1-2 player when you think about it.
Yeah, definitely. But, we don't know. The Mets, they might be making a deal with him, and, we're just not hearing anything.
Making him wait. All right.
And he's more valuable to the Mets than any other team when you think
I think it'll hurt Met fans because he is a homegrown player.
Yeah.
He's been here. He's definitely ingrained himself. He also has a memorable moment in team history. That most certainly counts for something. Here's what John would like to say. They don't sign Alonso, then they probably go after Nolan Arenado, Bregman, or Correa.
Yeah, Correa I don't like because of the he's got the foot injury.
Yeah.
Plus, he's got a lot of money on that contract.
And then we went down this road already with him. We're going to go back to that.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if you want to do that.
Going back to that.
And why not Arenado? That's it. I hear some people say, "Nah, don't go for him." Some people are like hesitant on that. Why is that?
A lot of money, a lot of deferred money. He's on the decline. I don't know if that's a great move, but you also got to think of it this way: maybe him going to the Mets might spark something in him, and he has a return of his old self. I don't know. Bregman is probably the safer bet if out of those guys.
All right, let me give a quick plug. My buddy Aaron Blaze, if you're out there, your YouTube channel is YBW 2018. Pennsylvania guy. Maybe he'll tell me about what the Phillies are going to do in the offseason. He's closing in on 1,400 subs. If you want to give him a sub, he'd appreciate it. He's a few behind. Check him out. And also, if you'd like, I actually have a poll, which I'm running in a poll. Well, technically, sort of. Sportswire is running in a poll. And if you'd like to give us a vote, I would really appreciate that very much. I got a bunch of people that are tuned in because Sportswire Radio is up for commercial of the year in WCE. So if you'd like to check it out, you'd like to vote in the poll, you can do that here, and you can check us out. If you'd like to vote, all you have to do is go right here, WCE Heat Community. So if you're here, you'd like to vote, that's the link. I'll be pushing the link the next couple of days, but you can never take anything for granted. We are at 72%, but I'd like to get to hopefully 91%. So if you'd like to vote, we'd certainly appreciate that very much. So go out there. Also, give them a sub while you're at it, WCE Heat. And they're close to 1,000 subs. But if you'd like to vote, we're running for commercial of the year. Basically, they did an advert with our Sportswire links, YouTube, and everything else, and they were very generous to do that. So we thank everybody at WCE for that, and help us out, hit a sub, and vote for us here on Sportswire Radio. Okay, so then, like, what's left then going forward between now and the next week? Like, what are some of the other off-season things you think will happen? What do you think?
Quickly with teams, at least with the Yankees, I know that they still need a first baseman, they still need a left fielder, and either a second baseman or a third baseman. So they're still at least 3 moves away. They're probably going to small, ads for the bullpen as well, maybe. But I think the main one is going to be at first, second, third, and left field for sure. At least for the Yankees. Other moves. Listen, we mentioned Baltimore. They got to do something because you're losing Santander, who had 40 home runs.
44 home runs for them, 44.
And you're losing.
They were talking like that. They're just going to fill it in with prospects. They basically, Elias was like, we'd love to have him, but it was basically like he ain't coming back.
Right. I mean, and they got the prospects, but are you going to count on all these rookies to come in and just be rookies of the year? So I don't know if that's a good move. I think, and they got an owner who's got money. Sign somebody, be aggressive. And I'm not Sanchez either. But
I mean, I think it's also, there are a lot of teams in baseball, unfortunately, that they want to pocket the whatever money they're going to get, but also not every. There's what is it? What have we learned? 5 teams, right, are big spenders. What are we looking at? The Yankees, the Dodgers, the Mets. You want to throw the Red Sox in there as a potential team, maybe the Cubs. I mean, am I missing? There's and the Phillies, right? So we're looking at 6 teams. I mean,
you really got 2 upper tier, Dodgers and the Mets, and then you got the big market teams like the Yankees, Boston,
Philadelphia. How about Philadelphia?
Philadelphia, definitely.
You want to? Do you want to throw San Francisco in there? San Francisco's been spending. You have to throw the Giants. They're in there. The Cubs. Do you want to throw the Cubs in there?
Yeah, at times.
The Cubs. I mean, well, I think they've they've been going for it. They've been going for it. I mean, so you look at everybody else. And then it's these other teams. They make moves where they think they can make a move, and Baltimore. TB says are unfortunately not known for spending money, and that's unfortunate. Yeah, because
I thought this new owner was going to have deep pockets and spend some money.
Yeah, he's supposed to be very rich. He's one of those guys like Cohen that's in charge of fund whatever investment funds or something. He's got billions laying around.
But you got to look at it like, do I want to spend? But also, as a businessman, do I want to spend $500 million on a player, $700 million on a player? I mean, Steve Cohn's he's a Mets fan. He wants to win a World Series. I mean, not every businessman, goes into it. I mean, I worked for a guy that was a businessman that ran for public office and didn't want to spend the money. He lost by 1,000 votes. I mean, Joseph Tyrone Jr. I mean,
are Oriole fans ready to get their tickets, jacked up after they sign, somebody for like you said, for $500 million? Guess what? Those tickets are going to go up, just like tickets are going to go up.
I think it's. A lot of these teams are trying to be strategic. I think that, I think Toronto has tried. I think San Diego has tried. I mean, there have been teams that have tipped their, feet in the waters. And, I think Texas is still around as a big market team. I think Texas has certainly won a World Series, but I don't know. Phillies need to do something. This is the third season in a row we've choked in the playoffs. Well, the last two definitely hurt because the LCS, you were up 2-0 and 3-1, right? That hurt. And then this year, you were pretty much the best team in baseball. I mean, they were pretty much
losing to your division rival. That's
that one. I think the 21 year, it was kind of a surprise. Came out 22 came out of nowhere.
the Mets. I mean, the Phillies did try to trade for Tucker, but they only offered Bohm and what's his name? What's the guy in right field?
Not Castellanos, right?
Yeah, Castellanos. Yeah, Castellanos and Alec Bohm for Kyle Tucker. They're like, no.
I think I heard the Phillies, at least the general manager was Thompson was on and said they were hoping for bullpen help, but they were kind of like content with where they were. So I don't know.
Well, they did sign Jordan Romano, the Phillies.
Yes, they were talking about that this week. He does for sure, but until proven wise, the only thing that's changed about the owner is the last name. Prospects have proven valuable, so maybe dropping big money isn't the move. And I think, look at Cohn. Listen, Cohn dropped the money 2 years ago, and it didn't work out, right? He spent on Scherzer. He spent on Verlander, and he pared back. I mean, the Padres spend? They originally got Soto. They made moves. It doesn't always work out to be that you spend this money. I mean, the Dodgers have just basically built an MLB All-Star team, but not everybody – is going to do that. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, I don't know. I think that I do think there's only 7 teams, maybe, I don't know, 8. I mean, I'm being generous that are going to spend the money. I mean, I just think that's kind of where we are in the market, really. I mean, I don't know, but I think we'll still see, basically you're telling me that we'll still see some moves, but these guys like Alonso, Santander, Burns, are we going to see them move before Christmas, or are these guys are going to wait it out a little while?
I don't know. I think this week is probably the last week to see something.
You ain't getting nothing during Christmas week. I think it's
I don't think
what Christmas is. Christmas is a Wednesday this year, so really, if you don't sign this week, right? This is going to New Year. This is going to
then it'll go after New Year. Then definitely.
I think the Mets are waiting out Alonso. I think they're waiting out to see where his market is. Where do you, because he turned down, what did he turn down? What was the deal he turned down from the Mets last year? What did he it was like 6 for,
was it 180?
Something like that, right? I don't think it was 6 for 180.
No, it was more
million a year.
Yeah.
You sure? All right.
Let's say 6 for 180. There's no way he's getting more than that. He's not getting more than 30 million a year.
I agree have been big, but the Giants have been big spenders.
Yeah, but we haven't heard anything. I think the Mets are, like Chris said, they're waiting to see what his market is.
Who's the team? If it's not Alonso, who's the team that says I need Pete Alonso? Is it the Yankees? I mean, people say, "Oh, the Yankees." Is it Boston?
We were talking about the Mariners.
Yeah, but the Mariners are another team. They don't spend.
Here's a good comp for him. Matt Olson signed 2 years ago. Signed an 8-year, $168 million deal.
I think Matt Olson's a better overall player than Pete Alonso, though.
All right, he's got the power like him, but he's probably got a better glove. Average maybe a little better, right? 250, 260. So that's a good comp. I mean, I think the Mets are just sitting back, waiting for, if someone else tries to sign him, and then they'll say, all right, should we match this or let him
Or
go?
and I think
I
that's
think-
what
yeah.
Chris. I agree with Chris on that. I think that's what the Mets are doing. They're trying to see what the market is for him, and once he gets an offer, and they go, but Boris will go back to the Mets and say, this is the offer. Do you want to match it or top it? And they'll take it from there. That's it.
Because I still say I don't think that's a Stearns move. As the GM, I don't think he would sign him. I would think he would sign a shorter deal for a first baseman, whether it's Christian Walker or whoever else on a shorter deal, rather than give him 6 years. Because if he's 30, I'm not saying he's going to start to go downhill from now, but in another year or two, you're talking about him being worse defensively.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, but you are looking at Soto, Lindor's in your lineup. I mean, Vientos. I mean,
they need something. I agree. I'm not saying they don't.
I think. Listen, Alonso. I mean, I don't know if Seattle's the team. Is Toronto that team? I mean, is somebody that's I don't know.
Pittsburgh should be the team, right? We were talking about the Central.
Pittsburgh, yeah, but Pittsburgh ain't spending. I mean, there's teams that just automatically
they should.
I don't see him. I agree with you
because look at the pitching they got. I mean, that's a team you want to talk about starting pitching.
But we already know a third of baseball teams don't even bother. I mean, like it's to me, it's like unbelievable. The A's actually went out and bought Severino for 3 years. I mean, I think Kansas City's
no sense whatsoever.
Maybe they wanted to make a splash for eventually going into the ballpark. I mean, but there's a third of baseball teams, right away. The Marlins are never going for free agents. I mean, Pittsburgh's never going for free agents. Right now, the White Sox aren't. Nobody's going to the White Sox. Tampa is not going to sign anybody. Milwaukee right now is in a retool. I mean, you're not going to go to Colorado, right? Who has obviously signed Bryant in the past. They've had big names, but you're not going to Colorado.
Right.
I mean, Cincinnati's not really a big. We're going to get the big fish. We're going to try by trade. Minnesota. Okay, they got Correa, but. There's certain teams you say, they ain't getting anybody. Let me get to TBK before I move on to a few final things. As sad as it is, especially given the fact that Santander said he left to finish his career as an Oriole. Orioles' best move is to wait and use him as a low-risk trade piece, but he's probably not coming back. I think that's kind of where we're at with that. So, well, we'll see. Obviously, Yankees, I think, did have a pretty good week. I think the Mets had a good week. I think it's, at the end of the day, so far a W for both teams. Yankees got a big starting pitcher, got a closer. Mets got a big bat. Mets got a chance to crow. Some other teams, Tucker going to the Cubs is interesting. Red Sox made a move. So there was definitely some good things, I think, to look at throughout. Will be interesting to see what the Braves do. I think somebody brought them up. So a few other teams I think I'm watching. I think we're going to watch what Houston does, certainly, what they do going forward. Obviously, they have a free agent still out there in Bregman. We'll see also what else with Baltimore, other teams. So Cleveland, Bieber signs back on arbitration. Good move there. They bring him back.
And maybe Bregman goes to Detroit, right? Because that's his old manager, right?
Detroit's a good name. The team that had really strong finish. Team that has spent before, not recently, but they would. When Detroit wins, they draw. We know for football, Detroit is starving for a winner. So, you guys want to talk football for a few minutes? We don't want to bring up the Jets, right? Bring up the Giants. Anything you want to talk about football, right? Nothing?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Detroit Buffalo. That's probably going to be the game of the week.
Yeah,
right.
Could be. Is that a Super Bowl preview for you guys or no?
It might be.
And I can't wait to watch that game. That's the game.
Definitely not watching Jets Jaguars though, right?
No, I don't. I think the only team that could beat Detroit in the NFC would be Philly. They have the only shot, I should say.
Not the Rams. Not the Rams.
I don't know. Rams have had one of the worst defenses this season.
They've done what they did last year. They're playing really well. They're peaking.
Down the stretch.
Got a win last night, an ugly win. They already beat Buffalo.
They have to do it on the road,
a quarterback that knows how to play against Detroit. I mean,
do you trust them going into Detroit and beating them, or going into Philly beating them
Philly, no, but they know it's Detroit and the Rams. I would say I don't know if they'd win, but I don't trust them in
Right.
Philly. Not in the cold weather. I think it's going to be a cold winter this year, and I don't think the Rams are going into Philly. I just don't. I don't see that they're going into Philly. I just don't see that at all. I mean, other games real quick that I'm going to say of interest. Colts Broncos definitely of interest. Colts Broncos definitely interesting. Wild
Colts are
card.
still alive.
Colts are definitely alive. Buccaneers and Chargers, I think, is a kind of
That's a
sneakily
good game.
good.
Yeah, you're right.
Buccaneers are in first place, kind of peaking at the right time. Chargers again, coming off a game, Bills and Lions, you mentioned. Packers, Seahawks, good one, Ron, very good one. Seahawks are looking really good right now, and the Packers are looking to redeem themselves. I'm certainly going to say that the Falcons and Raiders would be a flex game if you ever had one for Monday night. Certainly Bears and Vikings as well, right? Bears and Vikings, that's another one. Can I get a do-over on that?
Yeah.
And obviously another Super Bowl preview, which is going to, I know, hate for some fans. Steelers and Eagles, right? Is that what's the best games of the week or what? Bills, Lions, Steelers, Eagles, Packers, Seahawks, right? Maybe you want to throw Bucks, Chargers. Maybe I could throw that. I think that might be a fun game. Anybody other games? Anything else I'm missing?
Bucks, Chargers. Yeah, that's Miami, Houston, maybe.
Yeah, Miami's coming on.
They're probably done for the playoffs.
Why do I think Miami's going to do what they always do? Finish like 9-8. I just don't know. They always finish like 9-8, 10-7.
I mean, isn't it embarrassing though that the Giants are 16.5-point underdogs at home?
That's the largest spread in what? 20
How
years?
bad is that's? It's like college football. You know what I mean?
It's ridiculous. You watch them. Listen, even against New Orleans, they had a chance to actually tie it, and they couldn't do it. I mean, it was
New York football right now. Football teams are just an embarrassment.
Except for Buffalo, New York. When you say New York,
and I know,
Tilly.
I know Tilly came back in. I would have got Tilly onto the stream, but next Friday I'm going to get him onto the stream because I'm going to close the show. I don't want to give a link with 5-10 minutes left, but we almost got the Lions. It is what it is. Yeah, that was a heartbreaker. What do you think about Jameis Winston and the Browns knocking off the Ravens?
Winston is
a gambler, man.
Right? We've seen that. We've seen him be really great, make some really great throws, and then he throws how many picks? What was that a couple of weeks ago, right? He threw what 3 pick sixes and
like
3 touchdowns, 500 yards. Like that's Jameis Winston.
He's the ultimate gambler. He's just one of those, you just never know what you get with him. He throws the ball up 50 times and the receivers might catch it, 40 of them. It just unfortunately like 7 of them might be, interceptions. I mean, he's a tough guy to predict. I mean, I would stay away. You would think Baltimore should beat them, but Baltimore's problem, you see it a lot. It's almost like they're shooting themselves in the foot in a lot of these games that they lose. They should be easily one of the best teams in the conference, easily one of the best teams in AFC.
You're right.
But you know what? To be fair, you could say Kansas City's got 1 loss, and Kansas City has no business with the record they have.
But you know what? They figured they find ways to win, as opposed to Baltimore kind of finding ways to lose games. And
I think it'll be instead of the last couple of times Baltimore was in the playoffs, they had the top seed, right? So if Baltimore is in the playoffs, right, they're going to go in as a wild card more than likely, right? So maybe playing on the road. Maybe it might benefit them. I mean, I don't know if
could
that's...
be. You never know.
Yeah. No.
You never know.
You
don't know.
I mean, sometimes you see that it's harder to play at home rather than the road. And let me get to some comments because people I knew were waiting for this. They were like, Rob talking about the Mets. We want to go back to football. You all think, we got that. TBK wants to say, I think they have to see us again. And that's all I'm going to say about it. Well, I mean, there really isn't much more to say about it other than, you got to win your game.
Baltimore's got to win games in January. We got to see Lamar win some playoff games, right?
Well, it's interesting real quick, Miami, Houston, because Houston's like the ultimate choker, and Miami's a team that always finds a way to either make the playoffs or back into the playoffs. And it'd be fascinating to me if Houston makes the playoffs at like 9-8 and with last year,
Yeah,
people
they
were
might.
high on them, and people
They
were
might
high on
because
them.
their division's not great, so they're going to win their division. But it's like, how many more games are they going to win?
Not
right
many.
now. You got to look
No,
at their
not many.
schedule, but
Yeah, not many. I mean, but it might only take 9 wins because if the Colts go into Denver and lose this week, I mean, you pretty much
yeah,
going to
they're
stick a
probably
fork
done.
in them, right? You stick a fork. Miami's got to win. It's must win for them. Let's see what else we got here real quick. Tilly's a fan of the Ravens. Okay, good call. I mean, the Bills and Lions game of the week. I got the Bills winning. Bills
And
are
you know
looking
what?
for momentum.
Real
Yep.
quick, you might be right about Houston, right? They got 8 wins now. They play Miami. Then their next 2 games is at Kansas City and home against Baltimore. So they might lose both those games, and then their last game is at Tennessee. So they might only win 2 more games and finish 10-7.
I think if
So
they
you're
beat
right there,
Miami,
9-8.
I mean, if they beat Miami this week, Miami's done.
Yeah.
And then probably Houston will win the division, but it won't be. Maybe they'll go 10-7. It won't be impressive. They're another team that's lost a lot of clubs. I mean, the Jets beat them. The Jets' last win is Houston. Go figure. The Ravens are arguably in the toughest division. Yeah, I mean, it's not as tough this year. It's not as tough. I mean, what is Cincinnati? 6-8 or 5-8? Right, 5-8.
Cleveland's 3-10.
Cleveland had a down year. Same old Jets. End of story. Yeah. Well, the Jets. It's definitely the same old story. Yeah. That's
Cincinnati.
That. Maybe
Cincinnati's 5-8 this year, and they're a +2 in their plus minus.
They played a lot of close games. They played a lot of close games. Close games.
Yep.
I mean, look, that's just the difference of where you are in a season. But well, we'll certainly see. I have very little of a voice left, so it's time to retire and move on for the evening. What a show! A lot of people tuned in tonight. Thank you everybody for that. Hillbilly Tilly, definitely. Let's talk after the show. I see your message on Facebook, so I got to get to some football, Rob. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be talking an hour off-season hot stove next week, so I'll work what I can. But I think it is getting time to talk to football the last couple of weeks, and people are wanting it, so we'll go from there with that. But Chris, I'm going to pass the baton to you. I know Rob has got an announcement right at the end, so I'll leave that for the end. But Chris, let me give you the floor. Anything else you want to plug, share, or say, and take it away. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it. Rob, always great to chat. Our new NY MLB Talk episode is up. Definitely check it out. You know where to find us. Liftoff Jets is out there too. A new one a couple of days ago. We recorded it. I have that in the rotation. I'm going to play it Sunday. Yep. All right. Yeah. So click that link to listen to it. So definitely check us out. And the only other thing I got to say is, what is going on with these drones? Do you have an explanation, Tom, on this? You know what's funny? You said that. My mother, of all people, asked me about the drones, and I said, well, I mean, obviously somebody is, maybe wanting to eavesdrop on Sportzwire Radio. Maybe somebody wants to. Did I say something to offend somebody? But I don't know if it's the REM song. It's the end of the world as we know. Maybe somebody forgot a delivery from Amazon. But I don't know the answer. I wish if I knew the answer. I'm sure. What's the old line? If I knew, I have to be killed or something like that. So I mean, yeah, you might. I don't know. You know what? It's all over the place. It's everywhere. I hear about it. I don't know. Man. Staten Island. I know there's been a bunch of sightings in Staten Island. I heard in Brooklyn, there's been a few. I heard sightings about. I mean, it's. I don't know. Yes, well, because I'm curious to hear your guess. What's your guess? My guess is that it's probably somebody's testing some technology that they would like to see, and how it could maybe be used in ways to benefit them. I mean, if you're asking me that in that term, I mean, I'm sure. Who's they though? Is it the government or is it just some company? Well, I mean, to be a conspiracy theorist, I have no idea. I mean, a conspiracy theorist, I mean, it could certainly be the government. I mean, the government. I don't know if it's the United States government, if it's the world government. I definitely think that there's, I've always believed. It's kind of strange because their answer was, we don't know what it is, but there's no danger.
Yeah, there's no danger. Okay.
I mean, there
No,
is
we don't know
danger.
what it is. It's like,
Yeah,
what?
I
I
know.
mean, it's the old adage. It's the old adage. What was the Sammy Hagar episode he did on Howard Stern? Where he said he believed it. He saw aliens, so there was aliens. I mean, I'm not surprised. Listen, if you're asking me, I'm surprised this hasn't happened already. I would have thought this would have happened by now.
Right. That's
Um,
true.
I mean,
I
it's
was
kind of
thinking
like.
that
I'll give you a comparison on the drones. Last year, there was a whole bunch of brush fires from Canada. Everybody had it for weeks. I mean, you're talking about like weeks.
I remember
There
that.
was brush
Yeah.
fires that came all the way from Newfoundland, and it was like
It was bad down here.
it was like,
Yeah, it was
well,
bad.
what about
That's what I
that? I
felt it.
mean, I always was like, well, geez, that's so. If you're asking me, I'm not saying it's related, but we had a problem here for the better part of like I think 6 or 7 weeks. You go outside, it smelled like the 4th of July every day, and I didn't have fireworks on me. I mean, so
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the same thing, but yeah, I mean, unfortunately, there are things that the unexplainable. I mean, to explain the unexplainable. I mean, I don't know who else has got a comment on it. I may see a bunch of people. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but Hillbilly Tilly wanted to say though Cincinnati has the potential if they get the O-line to block for Joe Burrow. Well, he's going to talk about it next show, so I'm sure there'll be more drones, but in a drone-like way, Hillbilly Tilly will come onto the stream. I think we'll be here. I think I'll be here regular time for sports. I don't know if I'm doing wrestling next week, but I'm here. I'm here for I'll do football. I'll be here around 11. I will be around here around 11 next Friday. And thank you, Joe. Good night. Yes, good night to you. And I hope you're doing well. And I hope that you are on the way back up to where you need to be. But Rob, let me pass the baton to you. I've got final thoughts. I know you got an announcement. So anything else you want to plug, share, or say, and I know what it's going to be. So take it away.
All right, 2 quick things. The Mets are going to retire David Wright's number in July, and he's going to go into the Mets Hall of Fame. So that's good news for David Wright fans. I just want to thank Anthony Savino. We had fun yesterday doing the show with him. We appreciate him coming on. He did a good job. I was talking to him and his wife, and he
Kelly, right?
The night
Kelly?
before he was preparing for it like for hours. So
Wow.
Well, he did a good
Yeah.
job. He did.
No,
He
he
did
was
a- so he did
competent.
a
I
good
mean, he was competent.
yeah,
He did
he
fun.
definitely did. And my final announcement is, to celebrate the Juan Soto signing, I was able to get a Topps Now Juan Soto's first New York Met card. So we're going to give that away. I wanted to announce it here. I mentioned it on the
I did hear it.
our
Yes, I heard it.
and I'm going to put it up on social media probably tomorrow. So we'll give that away. We'll announce the winner here and on the podcast. But this should be a pretty big card. So I'm thinking a lot of people are going to go after it.
And that's where you can find out more information. Check out Rob. He's on X. So is Chris. It's the New York MLB Talk. You can check it out here via the Listen Live button on sportswireradio.org. And if you ever like to check out what Sportswire Radio has to offer, we do have a website where you can listen to some of these different podcasts. And you can, for whatever reason, if you don't want to see my mutton chops or if you don't want to see my long hair, because on TikTok now I've become big on TikTok, and some people say they wouldn't like to see the way I look. So if you don't want to see the way I look, you can always listen to us right here. You can listen to us anytime.
Start going
right
maybe
there.
with a mask. You ever thought about that?
I didn't even, to be honest, want to go with a mask during COVID. Ask me to put a mask on now. I mean, but
The wrestling mask. You know what I mean.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I do have a couple of masks. I mean, I have a ski mask. I have other masks, but I think I'm not putting mask on. But yeah. For whatever reason, if you don't want to see us, for whatever reason, we do have a bunch of podcasts, and those podcasts can actually be played right there via the Listen Live button. All you have to do is click on that, and it puts you right to the website where you can hear all the shows. They have we have about 10 shows. Chris has 2 of them. We have hockey, we have wrestling, a lot of wrestling talk. We have some other baseball presenters, and we have some great people on there. And if you'd like to check us out, plus anytime you want to check out just the shows, again, without seeing me on the video, we're always simulcast. So it's sportswireradio.org. You can thank me later. And definitely thank you for that. The Carolina Wrestling Show. We'll definitely get in touch. Definitely message me Instagram at the Sports Report 2021, Facebook at Tom Bryce or at Sportswire Radio, and let's definitely talk some CWS. 3,300 plus subscribers. We can definitely talk some topics. So thank you, everybody. Thank you to everybody in the chat. I am ready to retire for the day. What's left of it, John Gonzalez, thank you for your support. Thank you for Randy Dillon hanging out with us to talk some wrestling, and everybody else here in the chat. Nathaniel Rage, Joe Dell, TBK was here. Zilla's always here, and Hillbilly Tilly who will join us next Friday night. And thank you, everybody else. And one more thing, I'll let you have it, Joe. Those alien probes are trying to explain how the center of the universe could have two of the worst football teams. I mean, you know what? 96, right? The Giants and Jets were probably the worst teams. Or well, the Jets, maybe the Giants weren't as bad, but this is pretty bad. I mean, this is like, this is as bad as you could ever get, I think, for these two teams. But conversely, the Steelers and Eagles could that be a Super Bowl preview? Boy, the internet would blow up for that. Well, that would blow. That's never happened before. Steelers and Eagles have never played in the Super Bowl at the same time. That's I think would be kind of interesting. They've been good.
Listen, I'm obviously rooting for the Eagles, but if it ends up being Buffalo Detroit, that's great because
I think people want to see that. I think Buffalo has been knocking on the door. Detroit has never been there. I think people would love to see that. Pittsburgh.
The NFL probably would love that. Detroit, Buffalo.
I think Josh Allen. You got Josh Allen. You got obviously, the girl. Detroit's been there. Definitely you want to see them. I think Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. I'd like to see Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. I wouldn't mind it. I mean, people say you're crazy to say that, but that's the case. But if thank you, by the way, to 732 Studios on X. You just liked our show. And if you want to check us out, 732_studios, give me a follow on YouTube at Sportswire Radio 6579. Thank you. Also, Nathaniel Rage, you just followed me. Thank you for that. Also, Gunblade 44, you just followed us. Hit the sub button. And I'm the smoothest podcast. I'm a live streamer. I'm not a podcast anymore, but I'll take the compliment. We'll see you on the show maybe this week. I got enough for the day. My name is
coming from a guy named Southern Silk. I think that's pretty big.
Oh, he's got a big following.
You're smooth,
Well, I think it's TikTok. People are coming from TikTok because TikTok, I'm getting like a lot of followers. So, but awesome. That's a different show. Well, a lot of things. But John Gonzalez helped us. You help us. Check out sportswireradio.org. Just click on the listen live button. I'm going to be plugging it more. Vote on the poll. Everything else. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. Your voice, figuratively and literally, where all sports matters, all wrestling matters. We were joined here by Chris Bazaya, host of the Liftoff Jets and the New York MLB Talk, and Rob Maraska, Grim Reaper of Sportswire Radio, contest man, and the host, also the co-host of New York MLB Talk. And you can say podcast stream. I'm only joking with you. Don't even worry about it. You can say anything you want and call it whatever you want. You tuned in. You'll be on Sportswire Radio. You sub to me. That's all I could care about. But no, we love you. Thank you. I want to check out the shows you guys got. And thank you, everybody. I'll be here a couple of times tomorrow, 6:30 with NEW, 8:30 with Sam Reeves. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the number one global radio station that is Sportswire Radio, where all